Yeah, they kind of, it's if it's not used, they're going to say, well, it's mine.
Do that here too.
Yes, we do. I think the Northwest is doing that a lot lately.
Yeah. They are.
Not like the old homes. There's a difference between the old homestead. Like in Alaska, you when I got there in the 80s, you could still homestead in Alaska. In Nebraska.
Is that right?
That's you just.
Do I need to cut that off?
You cut your mic.
Yep.
And
Well, I was gonna turn around, so what I'm trying to do is get you all in so Lee Schwang can see you and hear you through that. All right, so that's the micro recording off. That's camera except for here. So Sean, can you see?
I haven't plugged in, sir.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I have.
I can see
Oh,
me.
again, you've been such a big help.
I can do it like 2
That's
seconds.
so
Sir.
That would be great if you could.
I'm not on the right.
I don't know.
I see myself and Rick.
Cool. Ooh.
I'm gonna kill my microphone.
There you go. But for me to share anything, now I gotta share off of here. What do we have planning?
Oh, that warm weather's gone, guys.
No, it's not. It's gonna be here.
Next week, on Thanksgiving, it will be 28 degrees Fahrenheit.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't think I saw it that low.
Yeah, system's coming down pretty good. Right now in Anchorage, by the way, they have set a record. They just set it today. It's filed the snowiest November ever on record.
I saw some headline saying they got 2 feet of snow somewhere. Is that where it was?
Yep.
The
The family right now is in Taiwan. They're about to come back on Saturday. And 2 of them come back on Saturday. The rest of them come back on next Tuesday. And I said, oh boy, from Taiwan to there, what a surprise.
Allison or Eleanor?
They're going to Anchorage. They'll be in Anchorage.
So Eleanor.
Yeah, Elmendorf, or it's called actually now it's Richard Elmendorf, which
Yeah,
is
because it's
J Bear.
Yeah.
J Bear. Joint, base, Elmendorf, Richardson, J Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there for 3 years.
At Richardson?
Elmendorf?
No. Fairbanks
Oh,
at Wainwright. The true Alaska. Anchorage is not true Alaska.
It's down where it's warmer, is it?
Huh?
Is it down where it's warmer down on that?
Fairbanks-
part?
Fairbanks-
is warmer than
Yeah,
Fairbanks.
Fairbanks is quite a bit north.
Oh,
Except,
Fairbanks is north.
Fairbanks is in,
except in the summer, it's a lot hotter. They get up to 90 degrees up there.
Ooh, wow. And if you aren't used to that, that's.
Fairbanks is in the what they call the Arctic Desert.
I did my winter survival up there.
Could you try?
Yeah, and it's funny is actually they send all their winter survival. They send them to Fort Drum because they can't do it. Actually, they can't do it in
Fort
Fairbanks.
Drum is New York.
Yes, sir.
I remember right.
Because of the snow. Right, but because of the snow conditions now, it's so dry that they can't do the igloos and stuff like
Oh.
that. So they send them to Fort Drum where it's
It's so dry this year. They're having very snowy years. This
well,
record
no, I
this
mean, but the snow up there is powder. You're up in Fairbanks, it's all powder.
So it don't pack.
No.
Oh, it packs when you drive over it, but not like.
Have you
wet
tried to
snow
build
does.
something?
That I use it, yes. All right, we're on. Let's press into the class here.
Sorry, sir.
Lee Schwang. No, there's nothing to be sorry about. This is good conversation. Hello, Masashi. How are you doing? We just been conversing and you walked in. There, I'm glad to see you here. We're here in our 4th session of research methods. I can't remember the second word. And by the title, it says drafting, presenting evidence. All right, that's just following through Turabian there, chapter 7 and 8. What we're going to talk about tonight is the prose outline, and then stepping into, and I'm thinking of just the writing phase of a discussion, starting to step into writing your first draft. Now, realize this course would apply to any paper you're writing, not just a thesis that you would write at the end of a master's program. So the methodology would have to be adapted. When do you have to have, by Turabian, a contents page? Anybody remember? 20 pages. So if you got 20 pages of the body, is there any magic number? Yeah, that's sort of their magic number, but you use what will facilitate it. When you have a short paper, let's throw another one out. Again, we have it in our style guide too, these two numbers here, just to help people. So you don't need a contents page for some papers that you're going to write here in seminary. But if you get beyond 20 pages, then ask the prof, do you want me to use a contents page? We don't call it table of contents, just a contents page. For short papers, 5 and less, you don't really need an introduction subsection. Give it a title, but you have to have introduction? No. All right. Again, ask the prof. This is just a short paper, and it's a research essay. Subsections always help. They help the reader. They help the person grading the paper to initially look through, because that's what we're going to talk about tonight. As you're laying it out, going from that prose outline, now I'm going to start laying out my paper. I'm getting a little further ahead. You're going to start thinking in your mind, going from that prose outline, that broad structure to, all right, now how do I want to present my evidence? We're going to come back next week and talk about that, or not next week, the week after, and talk about bringing in our evidence that we have to support our thesis there and our argument. But we're in that writing phase. So that'll be the first hour. Then we're going to talk about the abstract and the prose outline. What do I mean by that? And where does this really fit in? How does it help? How would you adapt it for writing a paper? And then how would you use it if you're writing a longer paper, meaning like a thesis? And then any questions about what does it mean that we're going to write a syllabus? And that's specifically an animal for writing a longer, like a dissertation or a thesis there that we're going to write in a graduate level here. A specific document. The last hour, then the last portion of the class will be just introducing verbs in Greek and Hebrew, and then do some exercises there so you can use the tools and go, I heard of Hithpael, that verb name before. Don't know anything what it means, and I see it's in the sentence. All right, that's about all we're going to be able to deal with here. Just can you recognize the verbs and verbals that we have going on in our sentences there? Things that we can share for prayer or things that are going on in life. You're going to do a lot of traveling, but that's way after this class in the spring, evidently.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Or in fact, this is your last class, right?
Yes.
Okay. I remember. You want me to say something?
No.
Oh, no, because you tuned away. Cut you off there. Well, let me lead us in a word of prayer. Let's spend the time together tonight. Father, we thank you just for your grace to us. And Lord, we think of the broadest level of our world and issues that are going on there. We pray Maranatha, but we also pray for wisdom for your people around the world, specifically in the hot spot of the Middle East, that they would point others to the Messiah, toward the Savior. And Father, those that are in the struggle of the battle, Lord, they're going to accomplish your will, but Lord, we seek your will to be done. And that's the peace of Jerusalem through the coming of the Messiah, but very practically that justice would be served and people would be saved, their lives. And so there's a number of things that we think about. Father, in our own lives, issues that are going on, decisions we make, holiday coming up here and the time to rest and relax. A lot of things are on our mind, and we just praise you for it all and seek your wisdom, because some of those things are just sort of a burden in our hearts. And I just pray you'd be gracious and allow us to be delivered from the emotional burden of it tonight as we talk and focus, so we could benefit the most from the class period here. And Father, we pray for Li Shuang as she's in her place a long ways away from us here, that you to encourage her. And then Father, that all that we do here, we do to honor you. Bless this evening, we pray for Jesus' sake. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. By the schedule, you were turning in your initial bibliography. If you haven't done that, turn it in, today, tomorrow, before the weekend, if you can, and I'll get at that as soon as I can. Formatting 3, the nouns, prepositions. Any questions on that? assignment, you're going to the software, or you broke down. John?
No, I'm just waiting to see what you graded at, sir. All these, I really, I don't have any questions on any of this stuff until after I see what you graded.
All right. The
Because I
main
don't
thing
know-
is can you use your software to identify things that people are saying in commentaries? That's all really we're doing for this class here. Those that have, I'm looking at Ricky, you've had Greek there. Boy, you're just laying things out and doing a lot of talking, and great, cool. I hopefully that's refreshment for you that have taken anything in either of the languages. Oh, okay, cool, good. So you can interact a little bit more with what's going on in the text as you're doing exegesis or as you're doing reading. For the majority of us, we're dealing with software questions. So Li Shuang, I know you've said, and she keeps saying, the languages are hard for me. They are for all of us here. So I hope you find a good software program that's out there for free on the internet that you can use that shows you the information that we're talking about. That's really what I'm asking, really where you need to access this part of the course, so that you know how to use the software to not only use it in your own exegesis, but also when someone says something in a commentary or a text, wow, and you go see it in the text and then go do a little research about that topic, whether it's a verb or a noun form, or so you're taking yourself down the road. Way back when, I don't know whether I said it in the class, I say it in every single class somewhere, and I repeat myself because you never remember everything you say. Before I was in the Air Force and was exposed to Bible study through a navigator representative with the navigators. And so he said, use Englishman's Greek concordance to the New Testament. Okay, so I bought the big book, and the only thing I could do is go to the back of the concordance there, and a concordance just lists all the verses, right, by the words. And so I'd go to the English, because I didn't know Greek, English dictionary, and had two of them, and it would list English words and the Greek words that are translated that one English word. But I quickly found out if I went to the Greek terms, there were a number of English words that translated a Greek term, so that got confused. And then I had to go to the page number, find it, because it was all laid out in Greek. There was English text, but the references were in Greek, so I had to learn a little bit there. And but it was fun, because then I started, oh wow, I know Greek. Well, no, I didn't. I was just dangerous is what I was, and I still am dangerous. It's because we got to be careful. But as we get more experience, then we can find our way around and learn a little bit better. So you're doing the same thing. You're just starting out with the languages. You've heard a lot of it. We're all at different places. Take yourself a little further. That's really what the objective for this part of the course is. Try it. Get in there. Do it. And Sean, you were asking about, you use the software. That's another big part of it. I was talking with Dr. Gramacki just yesterday. We're trying to, he at the doctoral level, me at the master's level for the MDiv. Can we have some consistency across the program? And he's looking at, and the question we had relative to Logos specifically, we also have people that have accordance, but is there a Greek text and a Hebrew text that everyone not undergraduate, master's level and doctoral level can have a text, so that when you cut and paste into your papers, it's a stable font for me, meaning you're going to do articles, and doesn't matter, you're in the seminary, whether it's doctoral or master's. If you got a good paper you'd like to submit to IJOBA, let me know. The question that we have, though, that comes up is quite often the language software. Dr. Baker just gave me an article that I'm going to include in the latest edition here. And his Hebrew text at one point looks real good. The format, the font that we want to use, another font he cut and pasted from, when it loaded into my software, it's a different shape to the Hebrew text. So we're trying to get consistently. So we were dialoguing about that. And the question, Sean, that came out was with Logos, because you're just cutting and pasting from Logos.
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what you see in Logos is what actually ended up in the software that I see. Is that, I'm assuming?
Yes, sir.
Now, Ricky, you were shaking
Yeah,
your
same
head
thing.
too,
Yeah, I did.
because you've been doing it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine's
Like we
distorted.
do,
I read mine from you.
Yeah,
That's
Hebrew-
good. And
so
so
it's
we're trying to
backwards.
find out what text that is.
Was it backwards to you too when you clicked on it, sir?
I
put it in a Word
I
document.
didn't type on it or anything
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
I was saying, I put it in a Word document, so
said
you
that.
could have.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you can, I mean, because that would obviously tell you right there, if you went back in and you tried typing on it, where would it put your
I
cursor
didn't
at?
look at the font, when you highlight on it, it'll show you font
Yeah.
labels up there.
Yeah.
Dr. Gramacki likes using Greca 2. I think there's Greca 4 out now for Greek, and they have a Hebrew text as well. So anyway, we're trying to find stuff. So you're my guinea pigs.
Oh, thanks.
So tell me more of what you're finding, and I'll hopefully try to ask the questions, and you ask the questions as well, so that when you're writing a paper, you for example, you're doing a word study, like you are for your research. I'm going to do a word study on a specific word term, Hebrew or Greek, and you want to use that with the correct font. So you cut and pasted from your software, Logos, and then what you need to do is don't just leave it in that Greek word and write as if the reader can read Greek. You'd want to put in English a transliteration or your translation of it. I mean, that's the convention now. It used to be the articles where you go to some of these older commentaries and they're hard to read because it's all Greek, it's all Hebrew. Well, we realize that not many people have the skill with the languages. So if you use the original, also put an English translation there. The transliteration is more to help you find it as you're searching.
Sometimes those can be wrong, you know, that's a problem.
Yeah. All right. Anybody have any questions on that? Nouns, prepositions? Okay, look pretty good, straightforward. All right, let's talk about planning and drafting your paper. Let me call up a file. I'm gonna call up the window. That's that one there. So Sean, if you're on, I'm gonna ask you, you see that, don't you? I hope it's up there, but I don't know whether
Yes, sir.
Good, we've got it there. Planning and drafting your paper. Really, it's at the point where we're at thinking for the course is planning and drafting your, what I'm calling is a prose outline. I know the schedule says detailed, but change that word to a prose outline. That's really what I'm talking about. And then your leading paragraphs is what I call it, leading body paragraphs. Meaning I'm actually going to take that prose outline. Now I'm going to start writing my paper, which brings in an outline form, but don't worry too much about the outline form. Yeah, we're going to start laying it out and we're going to start identifying things, but you don't need to really write the outline until you get done writing it, but they're sort of a both and. Okay, anyway, when it comes to organizing your paper, every place you're going to write has a convention for it. If you're going to write an article for another journal, maybe they have some specific forms that they want. The forms that you use, most journals, theological Bible journals, I should temper that. I think I'm safe in saying most seminaries that have journals, what I found is use Chicago, which is Turabian. So you're learning. But if you write for some other source, or you put it out there on the internet yourself on your own blog, then there's some other conventions that you might want to use as you write it. So you need to find the convention for how to present the material. Planning your paper. What we're going to talk about here. Plan your paper. Oh, wow, they all pop up, which is great. Now here it says at the beginning, sketch a working introduction. Now I'm talking about a prose outline. For our purposes, if we're writing a thesis, that's chapter 1. So our introduction, chapter 1, yes, there's a sense in which if it's a shorter paper, remember I talked about introductions there, find out the convention, 20 pages, 5 pages, I mentioned that. All right, you've laid out with your storyboard a possible structure with reasons 1, reason 2, reason 3, and evidence that you think will support that reason, and you played around with it, with ordering just roughly. Don't waste too much time, but it gets you thinking. For us, we have a specific ordering if you're writing a master's thesis, so you need to know the convention. So I'm talking about chapter 1, chapter 2, 3, 4. We have some specifics things we go through. Sketch a working introduction. And what you're going to do now for this paper, a prose outline, I'm calling it, it's just one paper. It's not a bunch of pieces of paper. So you're going to start with, you could title it chapter 1/introduction. You know, but again, don't worry too much about laying out introduction. And what am I going to do when I start writing here? I'm going to write prose. Prose means sentences. Myself, I start with phrases, I start with sections, and then I write it out. But what you're wanting to do, you're wanting to talk to yourself. And just write, what do I need to say in the beginning? Sketch a working introduction. Let me make a couple comments. Most of us need that to get us on track. That's part of it. Expect to write your introduction a number of times, so we're not writing it in final form for sure. But what you're wanting to set out are key points. So this introduction is a brief summary of the key points. So if you're thinking of putting all this into one document, in this section that I'm calling chapter 1 introduction, what is my thesis? What am I wanting to prove? That's something you want to say. What's background? You know, so it's introduction. It's you're introducing the topic, the problem, and your solution to it. And then how are you going to answer that or prove it, really is a better word. And the proof comes through, well, this is true because of reason number 1 and reason number 2 and reason number 3. But reason number 1 is valid because of this evidence. And number 2 is valid because of this. And there's a progression of our thinking as to how we're flowing through it. All right, so what we're talking about is start laying out your paper. You've laid it out in your mind with that initial storyboard form. I've got a thesis, a problem, and here's what I think is going to be the answer from my research, but I've not done it yet. But I'm starting to look through and I go, wow, I'm going to make a stab with a hypothesis. My research is going to prove my hypothesis or deny it. All right, if you're familiar with that word when you come to researching. But now I'm starting to lay out what would be my evidence to prove for someone else what I'm thinking I'm going to find. And I'm saying that because we're still at the very beginning in a sense of where we're going with the paper. Summarize only those sources that you think are going to challenge, modify, or expand on. So in this prose that you're writing for chapter 1, you're going, there's a problem here. And just write that out. And this is what I think is the correct answer. You know, you're not writing to anybody yet, but you're just writing for yourself. So you've got your thesis, you're forming it. You're trying to prove it in your own mind before you, in a sense, before you get through all the research. And then you have to interact with individuals. And I'm hesitating because I'm thinking for an article that I mentioned, I'm trying to write that I know what my thesis is, and I know I've got to interact with people that have a different view of a specific text. And then there are some practical, well, there's really 2 texts, maybe 3, that I have to address. And who would I select? Because it's been written on by a lot of people. But I know I need to deal with that text, and I'm thinking the contemporary discussion that's going on. I don't want to plow ground that's already been plowed and planted and harvested. So I'm wanting to update, but I know that won't come till I get into my research and find out. And then I'm going to go to the next reason would be there's a little bit of historical practice and a contemporary practice in that area. All right, so I'm just trying to help you think even though I don't have your topic in front of me. Sketch an answer to the question. State the answer to your question. State the point of your paper is what you're doing, the same thing, and then how you're going to get there. Another thing you want to do in the introduction, good thing to do, is state key concepts. All right, now they're coming back. I thought I had to hit PowerPoint. Hit the button. Identify key concepts that'll run through your whole paper. Now, I say that, and you're not trying to identify all of them, but up front, okay, I've got to deal with this issue and that issue, and maybe this word and that word. Knowing your topic there. Several of you said the rapture. I got to deal with the rapture question. That term, where does it come from? I've got to deal with 1 Corinthians chapter 4, maybe 2 Corinthians chapter 2. But that sort of broadens my thesis, so I've got to make sure I stay narrow with my topic, but focused with my topic, not narrow. Focus is better. But identifying key concepts. What would be the concepts that you need to make sure you want to identify those in your introduction, definitely for sure in your paper, but now start thinking that, listing those key concepts. Then you're going to be laying out the body of your paper. So here's where you bring in, this is one document with not separate paragraphs in the sense of, all right, this is another piece of, if you're creating a file, I'm going to make a page break and start a new page. I'm not asking you to do that. With your Prose outline, just go to start another header. Where's my pen? So now chapter 2. What are you going to do there? Let's just stay with the normal typical thesis here. Biblical study. Might give it just a basic title, or study of key rapture terms. Something to get you to know. I know I need to do an in-depth biblical theological study, and it's in chapter 2. That's what we do here at Calvary. And do the same thing. Start talking, but you're building. So you've introduced some terms. Now you're going to start dealing with them. What would be the reasons and some of the evidence? So you're going to start talking about that as you write this. And again, it's not long. This Prose outline, 3 pages. If you write single space, it could be a little less. You double space it.
Do you have an example of one?
I think I do.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to conceptualize it. I've read through that over and over. I'm sitting there going, I'm not really getting it.
Okay, let me see if I can find one that has been done. Don't have it in front of my mind here at this point. Plan each section, subsections. You're thinking of what are the individual reasons. Those are the subsections you might do in a chapter. Or, okay, I know I need to deal with this evidence here. That's what you're talking about. So what you're starting to do, before you were just laying out in the broadest sense when we did a storyboard with our idea, okay, this is my thesis, but how do I prove it? Well, I know I've got to deal with this as a reason. Biblically, there's a reason why my thesis is right. And now interact biblically, theologically. My chapter 2, I know in response to others that I've already read, heard about, this is why I'm interested in the topic. This is how they dealt with it, but I don't think they did it well. I don't think they adequately answered the question, or I think they went in a different direction. Now, you haven't fully done your research there, but that's going to be my second reason. The third is because if we took the biblical and either corrected or stepped over their inadequate answers, this is what I think is the real answer. And that's where you're going in your 4th chapter for a typical thesis here. And it'd be good working for a paper too. You're gonna respond to your literature research, in a sense, is what you're talking about.
So would the 4th chapter be a conclusion, or would the 5th chapter be the conclusion?
5th chapter is the conclusion.
Usually.
Yeah, usually. I'm laying out a thesis. If you're laying out a paper, maybe you've got, more than these 4. Maybe the ordering needs to be a little different. I began by saying where you're writing for has conventions, and our thesis has a convention. Our second chapter is usually your biblical theological study. You demonstrate your skill with the languages. It's what you're doing for your thesis. And then usually your third chapter, you're interacting with others. As I, the advisor, talk with a student, maybe we'd flop those 2 chapters around. Okay, sometimes you do that, but confusion?
No, that one makes sense.
And then your conclusion, like you're saying, is now this was my point. This is my evidence. It refutes so and so and so and so. Now you're not rehashing the ground. You're not arguing again, and you definitely don't introduce any new material, but you're summarizing and then identifying ultimately further research that needs to go on because you acknowledge in your paper. Maybe you know some of that that's limited, but ultimately when you write that section, you're going to be talking about what's left over. All right, I mentioned here in this point plan sections and subsections, and now you're thinking as you're in writing this, I know I need to cover in this chapter these 3 kinds of evidence or those 4 people. If you know that as you're writing this, what you're trying to do with the prose outline, you're trying to lay out in your mind the ordering of your argument. You're also trying to lay out in each section now, and I'm saying section meaning a chapter. All right, if I took that as a whole, I know it fits into my overall argument, which is to prove my thesis, my point, my solution to the research problem, that statement of truth. But how does it fit? And what do I need to cover here? So you're really just talking to yourself. Now, every time I teach this class, I know there are people that I gotta write an outline. See, I'm more like that. I start thinking subsection. Well, I've got to write in headings here, and so I start getting a little too much of a writing my paper. And maybe that's what I need to do. But others are a little bit more organic. And me, it's just, as I write that, oh, I know. And it's more in their mind than down on paper. So go through this exercise of writing this to get a feel for, and I'm not trying to deny James's question, because that's exactly what you're asking. What do I do for this assignment? Well, ultimately, I'm wanting you to get a sense of, all right, I've laid it out. Now let me start talking. Because when we start talking, what I want to do in each section, meaning chapter to start out with, but that's going to get you thinking subsections too. How does this relate to that, relate to that? But I want you to just more talk. And that's what I mean by a prose outline, then lay out. Even though I know I'm over talking, because I tend to do this. So bear with me, I'm repeating it, I'm going to repeat again. When I write out, I find myself outlining as I'm writing. Others don't. I think of my oldest daughter, she was more organic. She just did not want to write, so her prose outline would be real short. It's all in her mind. My second daughter's like me. She wants to lay out an outline and do it very methodically. So this is finding the process that will help you to start taking your conceptualization and now start writing. Because what you're going to do with your prose outline, you're going to step into the next thing is you now start writing the leading bodies. So you're actually start using verbiage, started laying it out, each section, and now you're expanding it. Ooh, and now maybe I can identify the subsections in each chapter as you go to the next level. That next assignment you see in the schedule here. For some of us, that's where we need to start thinking outline. For others, that's just taking that which is in our mind and go, okay, now I'm going to start putting it down. I'm going to do some thinking.
So our outline in our paper really is not this. This is okay.
Nope.
So this is the conceptualization of what
Yep.
we're doing. Then the outline will be, and that's when we do your subsections and blah blah blah.
Yep.
A normal outline.
Yep.
Like we would normally do. Okay.
That helped. I hope. Because this is not a laid out paper. I mean, it has all the outlines and the headings. I'm not looking for your format or anything on this. I'm just looking for your thinking now.
Now you will in the syllabus though. The
Oh,
syllabus.
yeah, the syllabus is what you saw in the example. Then it looks like your paper, but it's not all written out yet.
Correct.
And so you're just gonna be able to take your syllabus, lay it down and start typing in and changing it. And then you end up with your paper.
Ta-da.
Ta-da, it all comes out.
I don't think it's
Magically,
that
it comes
easy.
out, it appears. Sean, you're shaking your head. What am I
No,
confusing?
you might start, just ignore me, please, I'm just overwhelmed and just.
Well, keep coming back with questions because I don't want to, on one side, like I was saying, I don't want to over confuse you with how to do
Oh,
an
no, sir.
assignment as much as how to get a process of researching and writing.
That's why I think an example will help.
Yeah.
Of what I've got to
Maybe.
do, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what I got to do, that's all that's all the thing I'm trying to.
I don't know whether somebody said it here or somebody said, it. Oh, I used Dr. Gromacki as an example. One of the doctoral students, and I forget where it was in the process of, they're still early. They're just starting the writing, but evidently he did not do some pre-thinking. And now they're at this stage where he should have done some thinking like this to just lay out conceptually, where do I need to go? And he's not done enough research and spending time with the topic at the beginning to see where he needed to go. And so he's really got to step back and sort of start over is what he's saying. Now, again, I'm simplifying it. Sean, you want to say something? No.
Just, you know,
It's hard because, you know, you're trying to break something down to where it's small enough to where you can think you can do it a single study. Mine is getting larger because I'm doing that. I've already kind of thought of it. And I said, man, this could really get large. I want to keep it simplified because I could go all over the place looking towards. Mine's bringing in where the Antichrist is coming in. There's everything, these signs that are coming about now. And I'm using some of the prophecy that's come from, you know, Jesus from Daniel, little piece, obviously chapter 9, to the statement I made on chapter 12 of Matthew, where the Lord's talking about the 7 demons out of the clean house, the vacuum that's coming in this country. But I could see where I could really go a lot more, but I'm trying to angle it just the way, because I'm looking more at the future that now and how it deems to the future. I don't want to go to where I'm sitting here going, you know, Daniel did this went through this. I could go into Ezekiel, I could take it, you know, you can go all day long, but I want to just keep it there. But I am doing the Hebrew, the Greek to get a little bit better understanding of obviously the Antichrist himself. Now, I don't care who it is. It's basically the timing is everything kind of set up for the timing. And there's a lot of things. I'm kind of doing 3 different reasons for the timing of what's coming about. You know, so for example,
And would there be 3 reasons in a biblical study?
yes,
Yeah.
and that way you do that and then keep it that way. Obviously, you're going to do a little historical. It's going to be within the reasoning.
Yeah, you're talking with people that have
There's the evidence.
dealt with it already. And
And
wow,
some
what are they
people,
missing?
and the people that, yes, there are a couple people, and I've also got sides that are against it. One of them is understanding that generation is only that generation, where I'm taking the generation in chapter 12 there as being also a future generation.
Mhm.
The reason why Jesus is bringing that and the way he does, I'm looking at it. I've actually torn it apart a little bit with the Greek and said, yes, it's going now towards the future. So I'm showing that, but I'm also going to bring in other authors and say, yeah, no, it totally goes to this. So going to have a little bit of argument of there, which is good, but going that way. But it's like him, it gets so large.
Yeah.
My biggest issue is, and I'm not gonna lie, because it's just, I guess I'm really confused on, I mean, this class is more designed for those that are going for their MDiv. To me, that's the way it appears right now as we're sitting in this class. This is more focused for the ones that are going for their MDiv, which I have not doing.
Mhm.
Guys told me I am not doing my MDiv.
Mhm. Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out what this applies to me right now in this setting, what the end goal of this class is. Besides, are we actually writing a paper for this class? So I need all this information? Or are we just doing this to learn how to do this? And then is there a paper at the end that we're writing? I mean, that's what I'm really confused on, because I'm not going to tune you out, because it's all really important. Don't take it that way, Dr. God. I don't mean that by no means. It's just, I'm trying to figure out if this applies to what my track that God's got me going on, or is this a track that Calvary says, oh, by the way, this is a required class if you're going to do your MDiv.
No, it's the class that's required for all the MA courses.
Okay.
Yeah, because MABT has to take this. So for everybody, I'm putting it like for MDiv to give you a bigger picture for writing more, because we want to.
Right, I just have to.
But it can apply to every paper that you write.
Right, I mean, most of my papers aren't 30 pages
Mhm.
or 20 pages or something like that, and it's not like I'm picking a subject that's, I picked the subject because I liked it. And it's just me, Dr. Dobbs.
Yeah.
It's just one of those days.
Hopefully, go ahead.
It's really one of those days that I'm off on everything. It's just.
Yeah, hopefully you can come away with all right, I'm not going to have chapters, but these are the major sections that I need to cover in my paper.
Right, and I've got that. That's
so
not a
you're
problem.
laying that out.
It's just,
Because a lot of people don't lay it out in their mind, and they just start writing.
yes.
And we end up with an article that goes, ooh, like I do for the journal. People have written an article. Somebody just gave me an article that wow, he needed to narrow a little bit more. It looks like he's got about the material for 3 or 4 articles and a good substantive articles, 35 pages. It's a little longer than what we usually do. 20 to 25 probably is a little bit better. So he's got a little too much material for us in one sense, but how do we pare it down? And I look at it and I go, okay, I see some sections and it looks like he just wanted to pack a little too much in. So he needed to focus his thinking a little bit more, and hopefully this methodology will help
Like I
you.
said, Paul versus James on works versus grace.
Yeah, I've not fully grasped. That's what I was asking you. Come back with your topic there,
Yeah.
so I could look at it again and see now. Now I see what you're doing is you start writing this, because then maybe I'd want to come back as an advisor, say,
Then again.
how to do those two. Maybe you need 2 papers, one on James and one on Paul. I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly what it would end up being. It would be 2 separate papers,
Hmm.
Paul's grace or James's defining works.
But yet you maybe have an idea where I want to put the 2 together and compare.
Yeah.
So what do I need to cover? What can I not cover?
And that's what the resource,
And make
try to
it
research
comfortable.
all these different books is. That's really hard because you never know which direction you're going to go, especially me,
Great. Yeah.
not knowing which direction I'm going yet until I actually sit down and
Mhm.
6 days before it's due is when I start writing.
Cool.
That's
Well-
exactly me. I mean, I can.
As I said earlier, it's so true as we're getting into this, and then we start taking it to the next level where now I'm going to start writing, meaning I'm going to do a little bit more research and thinking about it. And do I really have the evidence? Is this really the right evidence? Are they really the right reasons? And this could take me back to my thesis statement,
More research.
my point, my solution to the research question, and refining that research question a little bit more. Yeah, so it's a process. You're right, coming back. Schedule working conclusion, and that conclusion is just the point and the significance of the research. Ultimately, then you're going to also do some summary. 3 common flaws with the planning process here that we're going to see as we start coming out of it. Don't organize your paper as a narrative of your thinking. And that's the danger of just sitting down and start writing, because it quite often lacks. Now, this PowerPoint's there, and I encourage you just to download it and have this as one of the files in your research thing. And few readers want to know what you found first, followed by the dead ends you hit. That's part of your narrative of your thinking. No, this didn't work. They don't want to just wander with you in your process of researching. Don't assemble your paper as a patchwork of your resources. Readers want your analysis, not a summary of your sources. And that's, unfortunately, that's going to be the distinction between a college paper and a graduate level paper. It really is. College students tend to just say, see, he says this, and see, he says that, and he says that. And I always end up going, so what? What does it mean? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Did they say it right? Did they say it wrong? All right, so they don't interact with it. And that takes the processing of a thought. Why are you telling me that? Is that proving or disproving? That's where we need to be thinking about, and college students too, but just not a patchwork of what you found. Don't map your paper directly onto the language of your assignment. Not what we have here. Yes, sir.
You're not seeing none of this.
You aren't seeing that paper, this paper now?
No, sir.
Then let me go back and share.
Now you are.
Oh, you see that?
Now I see it. But all the stuff you had written on the board,
Oh, you don't see that at all.
yep, don't see that at all, sir.
Hmm. Do you see me in a little window down at the bottom?
I see,
The only thing is you see is that.
no, I see that, but I also see like my hands and part of.
See that's picture right there.
No, I don't see that, all that.
That's there.
Well, if I blow it up, I might
What
see.
if I cut this off or turn this off? Well, this, I'm gonna leave this one here, but the other ones, oh, did I leave everything?
No, you're still good.
No, I left some.
Now you can see the board.
Now, is this? Now you can see it.
Now you can see the board, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Now I see the board in use, sir.
Okay. But it through Canvas, you're saying?
No, I see it through
Through
Teams.
Through
This is
Teams,
what I-
excuse
this
me,
is what
not
I
Canvas,
see.
through Teams. All
I
right.
see it that way, or I can see it just,
All right, so if I go back.
oops,
and
now you took everything away.
Come on, way to go. Don't go away. All right, I want to go back and share that window. So if I do this, that window. Now what do you see?
Now I see what you exactly on your computer.
Do you see the other, me down in a little corner window?
Yes, now I do. Yes, sir.
Ah, then I'll just forget my laptop. Sorry, Lee Shuang. I can't show the crowd here, so talk. And she'll know you're still alive in here. And I'm not talking to an empty room. All right, because that'll help a little bit more. I don't know, Lee Shuang, that you can't see what I'm talking here. But you can at least see how my hand moves as we're describing this process here. So the screen off to the right of the screen there, I was describing this Prose outline. There comes a point here as I'm talking. Let me make sure I shift in my thinking. Planning paper. Yeah, it's after this assignment. Now into the next one. Plan your paper draft assignment. All right, turn your plan into a draft. Now here's where we're going from the Prose outline. We're going to start the work of writing the next assignment, which is not due next. It's going to be after we get back. But you need to start thinking. And I'm going to take this one document or a running document. I'm not making page breaks. The next step we're going to take is now starting writing what I'm calling leading body paragraphs. Meaning you're going to go back into your paper, and from this, now I'm going to make a page break after chapter 1. So it starts a new page with chapter 2. And I've got now my title, and maybe I'm going to change it to what I'm a little closer to what I'm ending up with, what I'm doing in that chapter. Another page break, chapter 3, another page break, chapter 4, another page break, chapter 5. Now, again, I've laid out a syllabus here, but you're thinking of a paper. All right, so Sean, let me come and just use you as an example, not to pick on you. I'm not picking on you all.
No, you don't bother me.
I'm not going to write a dissertation. I'm not going to write a thesis. So you aren't going to make chapters. So what am I doing now? I'm going, all right, this is my introduction, and I titled it Introduction in a Paper, like we always do. So now here's going to be my first major heading, and it's going to have some subheadings. You know, we go from italics as a major heading, from the word introduction. Now it's going to have subheadings. Now I have my first reason. And it's going to be biblical information, but it's going to have some subheadings. And I go from italics. How do you format the next level of heading? You take a center, but you don't italicize it. You just make it normal text. And then if I've got some subheadings from that third level, it's back to italics off to the left. Right now, that's Turabian, but they say use your school's convention. All right, so that's what we do. We follow Turabian, same thing, same structure down to about a 4 level. Our style guide, though it's written on 8, has a good format for you to use for all of our papers here at Calvary. And so instead of using chapters where you break a page break, you know, you just write your paper and make sure, now this is major section 2, major section 3. The first one was introduction. And you're laying out your paper now, but you're doing the same thing. This is my reason. Now I'm going to talk about biblical information. I'm going to talk about theological, if that's your next section, or
Very much like a research paper.
yeah,
The same actual.
Yep.
Thing and example.
yep. And you know, just to piggyback, that's why we try to get everybody to take this course right at the beginning of it, so you sort of know what all of our profs are looking for when it comes to form, but also how do you write a graduate level paper? You know, is part of what we're thinking of. Pardon?
You must have missed that memo.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway.
You made it.
Turning your plan into a draft. So now if you were writing your master's thesis, just to put that back in, you bring in your syllabus, and now we'd say have at it. So now you go, you know, start writing the first couple chapters, and then your next few chapters, whatever. But the draft is laying it out into your, what I'm calling for this paper, your leading body paragraphs, meaning for each chapter, you're actually going to start writing the chapter. What would I say in the introduction of each chapter? Paper? What would I say in the introduction to this section? I'm going to cover the terms, the significant terms concerning the rapture. That's my first section of my paper, to argue my point about the specificity about the rapture. Well, I'm now going to cover XXX terms, and then those will be your subsections there. That's what you're covering. And then when I come back, theological implications of, or maybe this is a study of other people that have dealt with this as you're laying out your paper. So we're talking now not the prose outline as much as that leading body. Draft in a way that feels comfortable. So now we're actually writing the paper. Many experienced writers begin to write long before they fill up their storyboard, but they know that much of this early writing will not survive. So what did I say? This writing in the prose outline is just to get you thinking, get things down on paper, because you're going to forget it. Your mind's just racing. So start focusing a little bit. You're just talking to yourself. But now when you start drafting, meaning that leading body paragraphs, now I'm going to come back and what would I say in my first section of my introduction? What would I say in my first section of my first chapter, or major chapter, second chapter technically? Or now I'm thinking my first major section of my paper, the biblical study. Now what would I say in that? You haven't written the bottom part of it, but now you're going to actually start writing verbiage. But you've thought it through here first. Now again, I'm over talking, and I'm looking around to see if there's any glazed eyes. I can't do it for you, Lee Schwang. Help me. If that'll help you communicate is what I'm asking. Once you have a plan, many writers draft quickly. Here's where we're all a little different. They let the words flow, omitting quotations and data, so they can just get it down. And others, we stop and we start adding it, because that's how we sort of process things. Now, for some of us, if we stop and slow down, we lose our track of thought. Others, okay, that's good. I started here. Oh, I want to add that so I don't forget it. And okay, there's where you have to learn a little bit yourself and find out what works and doesn't work. Other writers can often work slowly and carefully, seeking the right sentence before they start the next one, if you're even down at that level, because we're talking about now that prose outline, we're actually writing sentences. So they slowly draft and create. You got to find that which is comfortable for your personal style. Use keywords to keep yourself on track. As you're writing in a section, let me back up. As you wrote your introduction, you want to identify key concepts. And that usually means keywords that you're going to be using. Yes, you're going to identify these are the key terms I got to talk about. But if they're key terms, why don't you keep saying them? You know, that's sort of what you're saying. Not that I'm going to recount them in the next sections or chapters. I'm not going to rediscuss it because I discussed it and concluded there, but yet I'm wanting to help the reader to see the logic of where I'm going. That's what I'm doing with the wording. So find those key words as you start opening those leading body paragraphs. That sets out what the reader should anticipate. You're going to talk about, as well as it keeps you on track relative to your thesis. Organizing your argument. Now we're think like a reader. Readers don't read word by word, sentence by sentence. How do you read an article? When you've got an assignment to read an article for a class, what do you do?
I read every word.
Is that how you start it? When you sit down with the article?
Oh, no. I skim through.
Oh,
What do you skim through? What do you look for?
The headings normally, like
Yeah.
what each section is going to be on, and then go back.
That's sort of what I do.
Not me.
And what I'm actually looking for in there, you know, I look for, if this is not, yeah, I'll just kind of exit out. I literally will go like this, okay, this body, I need to concentrate on this one.
Yeah.
Kind of go through
This
that.
prime example, I'll read it from the top to bottom.
Okay.
Yeah. Since we have,
We're all a little different,
I will literally go, okay, blah, 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 okay, yep.
but when you get in the middle, Sean, and you got a question, where do you go?
What, sir?
You get in the middle of that assignment or that article, and now you go, oh, wait a minute. And you stop and you got a question in your mind, where do you go?
I go
Back up.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're accumulating knowledge. That's what you do. in
Yeah.
a way.
I don't.
And it takes you back up. Wow, where did he say that? Hopefully the person organized logically, like we're talking about, so you get at that point, you go, wait. And you're tracking back and go, either they didn't say it well, you're confusing me, meaning the editors that printed that article didn't help the author to get it down well.
Prime example, you can look through my book here and you can see where I've gone through and marked. I literally, some people don't like to write books,
I love to write in books.
but
My
I will
wife hates
literally go through
it.
this, I will literally go through and put notes in there. It's like, ooh, he said this, he said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Logos, same way. You go through any of my books on logos and they're like full of colors.
Cool.
Can I just sit there with my pen and go, oh, okay, this is a neat saying.
There's got to be a way for you to help the reader to see it. That's why it's very good in longer papers to have headings and subheadings, because the reader will see those with their eyes and you're setting them up for what they're going to read, hopefully. Some people jump all the way, they look for the thesis and they jump all the way in and look at your bibliography. Because they want to know, have you dealt with the current? Oh, this is old material. I don't know if I want to read it.
That's it.
Again, it depends on the topic. Sometimes you need to deal with old material because that's what you're talking about. That's what you're researching. But if it's a contemporary issue, they want to look at the breadth, perhaps, of your research, like we were talking before. But think like a reader. Readers don't read word for word when they first jump into it. They want a sense of the whole structure, what's important, why they should read your paper. We have gone to, in our journals, and I've noticed a lot of doing it, and that's why I'm doing it. When you read a journal and you read an article in a journal, rather, we put the abstract right there. So you can read that summary and decide, no, I don't want to read that. I'll come back to it later.
Yeah.
That's really what we're helping the reader to do.
That's
So for reading an article and it doesn't have an abstract, you're probably going to go to that introductory section and see what's your thesis and what are you dealing with. Okay, you need to lay it out. So you need to think as a reader how they might look at it. Therefore, as you revise, as you're starting to write out and you're drafting and you're coming back, and you want to attend first to your overall organization, then to sections, then to the coherence of the paragraphs and the clarity of your sentences. So you're just taking level down to another level. And finally, to matters of spelling and punctuation. So you get all those mechanics out of the way so it reads well. But that's way down the road from where we're talking. We revise your frame. Readers must recognize three things instantly. And this applies more to a paper than it does to our thesis, because the thesis is laid out chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, introduction, conclusion. We see those words there. In papers, we have the word introduction, conclusion. Shorter papers, you might not use some headings, real short papers for sure. But we will glance through how long an introduction. I'm reviewing a manuscript for possibly publishing. We're going to publish it probably. Is one of our alumni wrote a book, a Bible study, an Old Testament book, and so I just sat yesterday looking through the whole manuscript Then I did the same thing. What are you doing in the introduction? What's the layout? How are you helping the reader to engage with your material? I'm sort of giving an overall feel. I'm also then, as I'm now reading into each chapter, what's the person's voice? How do they sound when I read it? Do they sound like they're just talking to me? They sound like they're lecturing me? They sound, okay, there's a number of things that I'm looking for. But think as a reader is what I was talking about, and help them revise your frame. They want to know where your introduction begins, your ends rather, the conclusion begins. Those are usually fairly obvious, as well as your progression of thought. To ensure that they recognize these, we state our main points, our thesis at the close of our introduction. For example, we include the point, what am I trying to say? The sentence I'm reading, include in the point sentence of your introduction key terms. All right, I thought it was saying something different. In this introduction, I've got my key terms that they're going to pick up. I'm looking for clarity, revising my argument, identify the substance of your argument. Does the structure match the structure of your paper? Is each reason supporting your main claim? Now, see, this is where I'm going through it as I'm writing it, drafting it. I'm constantly stepping back and seeing, does it logically read logically? Do you strike the right balance between reasons and evidence? And now I'm down here in the actual writing of a chapter or a section. Evaluate the quality of your argument. Is your evidence reliable? Have you appropriately qualified your argument? Does your paper read like a conversation? Now we're way down past the prose outline into that drafting, even past the leading body paragraphs where now I know where I'm going to go in this chapter. Then you're actually writing the chapter. If it reads like a contest between competitors, or if you haven't acknowledged alternatives, meaning where the reader is going to come back, potentially go, well, what about? All right, so now you're really getting down into the writing of it. If my paper reads like a conversation with peers and colleagues asking hard questions with and I say friendly in a qualified sense, because there are some issues that we're going to deal with there. People go, no, wait a minute, but have I interacted with that? Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I disagree with you, but I understand what you're saying. Okay, that's going to happen. Why do you believe it? Are you really making that strong a point, or is it not that strong? Could you explain how this evidence relates to your point? So now we're down in that evaluating the quality of our argument. Have we expressed all the warrants? You remember what a warrant is, where I'm stepping back from the specific argument and saying, well, my reasoning, my argument here, the way of arguing here is just like we would argue in another area. And they go, oh, yeah, I understand there. So, yeah, I guess I have to acknowledge that the reasoning methodology is appropriate. Revise the organization. Now we're coming back and forth we're down in drafting, and quite often that will take us to questions that we have about how we've organized the paper. Do key terms run through your whole paper? Is the beginning of each section and subsection clearly signaled? And we usually do that with our headings, subheadings. One of the articles that I'm evaluating here, that I evaluated and talked to the author about the other day, it looks like as I was reading it, they need to move one section up to the previous section. It's like they sort of finished a section, started another one, but ended up continue talking about above. So I had to say to the author, I really think you need to move that up there.
I've done that before. You get to doing that, and all of a sudden you get on the stuff, and you just realize it's like,
especially when we're trying to crank out an assignment.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. And I understand it. That's it. Okay. Does each major section begin with words that signal how that section relates to the one before? Is it clear how each section relates to the whole? A couple more questions. Is the point of each section stated in a brief introduction, preferably, or at least in its conclusion? Now, most often in our writing, We want to put our point up early so then people can engage with, okay, I know that's what you believe, but prove it to me, as opposed to waiting till later, but that's an appropriate methodology too. I used to teach one of the English courses here, a composition course, and a man who was arguing about the issue of sex offenders, repeat sex offenders. And this person had been an attorney representing children that have been abused. And his title, Sex Offenders Can't Be Changed. I mean, so that's his thesis. That was his thesis. And he was trying to prove it through this essay. And the way he approached the essay, he said, well, people say medical castration will do it. And he talked about that a little bit. And he said, let me show you why that doesn't work. I already knew what he's going to say, but he started dealing with every other option and showing why that just didn't work. Next one, that doesn't work. So then he presented his, you can't change them at the end. No, I'm not telling you exactly what he said because I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was a good argument. And he told it at the end why he felt that was the best. Where am I at? Check your paragraphs. Is the point of each section stated in the brief introduction, preferably, or in its no, checking your paragraph, excuse me, reading the wrong section. So we're looking at the opening and closing, how they transition, but we're really down in the drafting and correcting stage of writing. Letting your draft cool, then paraphrasing it, meaning putting in other terms. Could I say it a little bit better? What we're asking, rephrasing it.
So in your syllabus, the paragraphs will do that. So you'll have your topical sentence and then, okay, so I want to make sure. I'm just trying to put a syllabus.
Now you're asking a syllabus.
Yeah.
You're asking the specific syllabus assignment.
Yes.
Say it again, then what's your question?
You're starting with a topic sentence and you're going to review at the end of each paragraph. So each paragraph is going to basically be set on that for a syllabus too. Like you're doing it right.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, because
I'm going to say it because the syllabus is a unique animal.
Okay.
What the syllabus does, and that's what I'm asking this assignment to be, and that's what you're going to be at the end. You're not writing a paper. We asked that question. You're not going to try to prove it in that ultimate assignment sense, like you're going to do it for the professors here,
right? Or
that you would do it in if you were writing a full thesis. But rather, you're setting out. This is what I'm going to prove, I think. And here's the reasons why I think it's right. But you're not going to write everything because you aren't writing the paper.
Okay. But yeah, but you're still
So
gonna
it's
have
going to
some
look a
quotes
little
in there,
clunky.
though. You're still going to be doing a little bit of quoting and a few things in there because I was kind of looking at some of the other ones you gave me exactly. So I just want to make sure in the paragraph structures, I'm trying not, because I can be a critical writer if you have to. I don't want to be. Never really want to be, but on this paper, I just want to make sure that's not one of the key things you're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I could put it in the process here, if the assignment of this class was, this is your thesis class, and I'm coming back to thesis, or this is a paper you're writing. Well, ultimately, you're going to write that paper, and hopefully it'll be well researched and well argued. And that's what we're talking about here. I'm really talking about that process of writing it. But for the syllabus sense, I'm asking you to write a prose outline just so you can start thinking through how to write a paper, how to formulate a paper in my thinking. That's what that is. That assignment's about. The next assignment, now you're going to start writing it out. The leading body paragraphs. That's part of the syllabus assignment, but yet that's sort of the end. That's really what I'm asking you to do, because you're not going to write the full introduction. You're not going to write each of these papers. In fact, paragraphs and sections rather. In fact, you're only going to have maybe a page. You saw in that example. The first one, because I'm already sort of feeling that, but I don't know exactly where I'm going to go at the end.
Yeah, that one example I had that it was more you guys got later on. It was less and less.
Yeah. But what I want to see in that leading body paragraph is that opening section. So this is what I need. I know I need to cover here. I don't know exactly what I'm going to end up with. It's going to be a little bit more discussed in the introduction, because here you're laying out the problem. So that your first section is a little longer. You're going to be talking a little bit longer in a syllabus. The section, now you're with each of these, starting it and laying out the kinds of evidence to prove your reason. Yes.
Well, you also got on this assignment too, this with the outline, you got to do the, then you asked for a detailed outline. So you want that outline, then a detailed outline and an abstract.
Let me see what you're looking at here, because
These are the two assignments right here, because you got part A and part B.
Yeah.
Oh, 5A.
Because 5A is the one that's your prose,
Yeah,
but then you got 5B, which is actually your abstract and a detailed outline.
it says detailed outline. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I saw that.
I better go back and review this to make sure, because I've made a few revisions in my mind,
Okay.
because I'm realizing it's just not exactly what we need to cover here.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying, I'm saying it wrong here, but I don't want to just off the cuff say, oh yeah, change that. And I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
'cause we're not gonna meet again
Exactly.
until
Yep.
that night.
Yeah, let me look at it here this week coming up.
Yeah.
Sean?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, just
Okay.
same question.
Sachin?
Detail outline refers to the prose.
No.
background, right?
That's why.
See, I've used that term and I've got to change that. I know it, because I did in one place.
To prose, right?
No.
Pardon?
Change detail outline to the prose outline.
At one place I did.
Also,
Yeah.
you use the other place for detail.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're talking about the other
Two
place.
Outlines and an abstract.
Give us an
One.
example, when you want this done, give us an example. Sure.
Yes.
I think that's,
Bottom line, you've got me so lost, of like, I see a 15 to 20 page
Oh,
paper.
that-
at the end.
that's your
That's the
paper.
end.
That's
Yeah.
your end. That's your end thing that you'll be.
That's the end for this course.
So we are writing a 15 to 20
No,
page.
but it's
paper.
not a paper.
When you say paper, I'm thinking
I
exactly
know you are.
just that.
Yeah.
Boom, my
It's
mind
not.
for the last
It's
3
a
years.
partial paper.
It's a partial paper.
Yeah,
Use
this
that
is
example.
a conceptual difficulty here in this class. So you're
Use
just
the
right in there.
example of the syllabus. So he's got 2 of them in the, when you look in the
No,
files,
or file.
kind of look through them and you'll get an idea. I had to read it and I was like, and they're good. The one in Lawton, although he does have some typos, by the way. Just to let you know. But as I'm reading it, I said, oh, okay, they're looking a little bit more for this. It's not a paper. And I thank God, because if I was to do that as a paper, you would not want to look at it, Dr. Dobbs, it'd be 30, 40 pages.
Let's see, modules or.
Oh, I don't have unloaded here.
files.
I'll try to load it up in the break from Canvas and see
Okay.
if we can see it there. Just to try to clear up. That's one of the problems of this class. In part, is I'm trying to use words that communicate clearly. A detailed outline, and I don't need, and I realized in the schedule I had the word detailed, and I said, forget it, use prose. See, I had the word detailed here, and I crossed out and I said prose. I don't know why I didn't change it, because I'd struggled with that the last time, or
Okay,
people
so-
struggled with that question, because when you say detailed outline,
Yeah, I'm thinking of my paper.
no, that's the final.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to use a detailed outline at the end of the syllabus.
On the syllabus.
Right, but not in this
Okay.
section.
And
Not
then
in
so-
these
Those
couple
are
of-
terms you keep throwing me off with, sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
mean to, please finish, no, go ahead.
B5 then, 5B then, we're holding off on that 5B. So you're, because otherwise you got an outline here and another outline here. So I think you just got the one outline. And then you wanted the abstract, and you said it there, it's kind of explains the abstract a little differently. Because I said, as I saw the example that you had in the papers, I could go on an abstract that can be quite long. Because sometimes the abstract can be, because you're actually saying, this is like the first sentence would be almost like your thesis. Or one of those first 2 sentences. One of them could be kind of a, this is why I'm doing this now. Here's what it really entails. And then
Yeah.
for like thing, it's kind of taking your prose outline almost and kind of putting it in within the form
Yep,
of
you can think of starting with a 5-sentence paragraph,
Okay.
but it needs a little bit more.
Okay.
Is what I'm envisioning for, what I'm asking for the abstract.
Okay.
Here in the assignments, so you did the initial bibliography for today. Right. What we're going to talk about a little bit later, we're going to come back and talk about the prose outline and how to do that, and the abstract. We're going to take a break here in a minute here. After that, we're going to come back for the break, and then the week right after, I'm going to introduce this leading body paragraphs, and that's where we're taking just this prose document and start formatting it as if it were looking like it's going to be the syllabus structure, which has a little bit more detailed outline to it. But
Okay.
yep, we'll do that.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Yep. All right, so let me see where we're at. Abstract, a word about abstracts, but let's take a break. We're at a quarter after here. You've been sitting on the rock hard chairs for a while. Let's take a break and we'll come back and introduce them.
Maybe you two can help me understand this. Why do we get a syllabus from the professors? But then he's calling what we're writing a syllabus.
It's.
What? I don't want to cuss, but I'm at that point where
I'm going to give you a document that gives you a definition, clarifies.
That would help.
Because
Yeah.
syllabus to me is what you got, what the professors give us
It is.
with everything lined
It
out,
is.
what we're doing per class. But now you're talking about
But it
syllabus.
doesn't have all the details
Nope.
that they go through.
Kind of, we're doing a
And
syllabus.
in that
section.
sense,
Yeah.
that's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So we're writing a class.
No, you're doing a syllabus of your paper that you would
Right.
be writing if you wrote.
Yeah.
But it's a confusing term. I understand you. It's one of those technical
I
things
was
we
sorry to
use.
you. I thought it was different, but it's.
So we're gonna Prose outline and abstract.
Yes.
Okay. We don't have to do two separate outlines.
Nope, nope,
Okay,
nope.
just making sure I got it right. Yeah, I want to
We're
make my own
gonna
note.
clarify We will.
Okay.
Let me see
We're
if
good.
I can find a prose outline.
I
Sure.
did get
Go ahead.
the
This is-
difference
Yeah.
between abstract and.
Cool.
I'm on,
Oh,
got
This
the answers
example
except
here.
for this one right here.
In the
It's asking,
files
um,
is the best.
from that section, it's
That I
asking this
It
question
has the
about what to
abstract.
do with this
Got
one.
it?
It says, how do you write a
Yeah, so this
portion?
is the
You know, to
yeah,
do
and
with
this has
one.
the
Here's the
whole
original form.
end result.
There's no way of doing it if you
So it
don't
has
have like an
syllabus.
author, or do I use myself
This
as
is
it?
for it, but
Do you understand what
So
I'm
it'd be
saying?
the
Well,
same
here,
class.
let me give you an
You
example.
mean
Yeah.
more of the context
And then
for
we
Yeah,
this?
have
it's
some-
2532,
this
yeah,
would be
it
like
just
the
doesn't
detail
give us enough to,
at the end.
or I didn't
last
see,
one.
okay, maybe I'm
Yeah.
missing.
Number
And then
four,
as it
you're
goes
asking,
through,
how should
Like
how should we
chapter
write
one,
the
the
portion
introduction
following
has
sentence after the comma?
pretty
Yeah,
long.
because
or pretty
basically
lengthy
25321 is
introduction.
talking.
But then as it goes
Uh,
3, 2,
through,
1, 2.
3212, I'm sorry.
a little bit, yeah, but then what happens is like here,
Yeah, well, there it is.
like in
Because this
the
is,
next
it says
section,
here's the original right
He
here.
doesn't
and most of
really
the people would be bound to
finish it. It just
from.
says it will assume a
You can
dispensational
see
framework,
that he takes
limited
it
scope,
on there. Do
disposition
I,
will be.
can I use my name or
Yeah.
do you
So
want?
he doesn't really like
No,
go detailed into it.
Because it would
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
the authors, use
This is what
there's
I'm
no
gonna
way
do,
of doing it
but
without.
I didn't do.
the author
Like
argues,
I will. do
Yeah,
this.
okay,
want-
so I can do that, okay, I just want
I'm
to make.
just trying to give an example.
Okay,
Yeah.
Make it a little bit more
I
fresh.
okay.
I'm gonna differentiate-
I'm using here. I'm using myself.
Dig into the writing, yes. Yes, yeah, you got it.
You got to see where I got a little bit in there.
No.
Okay. The other ones you did really good at getting, and I'm sitting there, I don't have enough information to finish this one out.
Cool. You got it, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
told you,
where I
I'm
didn't
gonna
take that
be gone
class
from,
this time.
next,
No choice.
from Monday all the way following Tuesday night, hopefully like the second time we'll be back.
So you're
to work.
leaving next week?
There's only two.
And be gone, well, you're going the whole,
Yeah,
right,
yeah, but we're not
Yeah,
going.
but you're not gonna have any access to do anything and you wanna get ahead. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
pretty much, yes.
Yeah, just
I'm trying to get
the
as
prose
much,
outline and the abstract.
Yeah, yeah,
You
and
just
I'll have it
need
all
to-
kind of, that I'll have ready. I'm gonna have to
You
do a
just
little bit of it,
agree
obviously, hotel rooms. and that kind of
hermeneutics.
stuff. It's just that,
Okay.
I don't have much time.
Here, this one.
If you could do it without it, your wife will love you for it too.
Yes, yes, she will.
What do you mean you're sitting on the computer all day?
Inductive.
Oh, and
Or where?
Well, she is too. She plans on taking when
Three.
we leave for Florida, she's going down, it's her family down there. She said she's not taking all the time off because her
Okay.
office won't,
Yeah.
she's kind of.
So
expensive
she's
to
gotta
the
take
time.
her computer.
So she gave me the computer, I said, that's your family. I said, you telling me not to do it because of you, and I said, this is your whole family down there. Because they're flying from
Oh,
Alaska
yeah.
and everywhere to be down there.
Life happens, especially in this
Oh.
electronic world.
Gets too busy, and I'm one of those now, I told her. She thinks I'm kidding, I'm going back to a flip phone like yours, the minute I'm done with
So I was like,
the
Sorry,
class.
navigation, I can't
I
be
was like,
here.
I can never take
I just want that.
Like,
No,
why?
I get texts and, I mean, I can use the internet here, but there's no way you'd see it. It's just a teeny
So I'm
tiny.
having a bit of a.
So I never use it for the internet.
I understand where you're going, that's
Trying to
true.
figure it out.
Truly do.
Act together.
Yeah.
I understand technology, but
Finance
I
person.
just don't want it anymore.
She doesn't get credentialed.
Oh.
Right now, she's not credentialed to deal with VA.
Mm.
So everything
Quick
is
question,
out
that's
of my
completely
pocket,
different for me, yeah.
and I can't afford it.
Yeah.
So if she
Sorry,
doesn't get my
get-
stuff
ask me to get code in real fast.
between now
Okay,
and
this also teaching is.
then all these classes, I'm
Say
gonna
again.
cancel.
I submitted
gone to the
the
VA
initial
classes.
bibliography.
Mhm.
But now she's waiting for, I don't know what she,
And,
maybe she
uh,
got it done yet. I
I
haven't
just-
talked to her.
I didn't
Huh.
But my work schedule, I'm at
exact
work from
formatting on the
6 o'clock in the morning.
according to the
Yeah.
Tribune.
Well, that's what I was doing during the.
You said
last
you
class.
did?
I
working
did not.
doing all that.
What
it's
did you
like-
do?
I just find the five
Okay.
books and stuff
well,
like that.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah,
Could you
I
go
don't
back
ever
in
do. I
and
mean, unfortunately,
put
I
it in
have to take
format?
2 classes.
like
Yeah,
we have, this is,
Cycle.
I asked you to find a
You want me
book
to use mine?
and the book's got 3 authors.
yeah.
Could you put it in the format
Yeah.
for a book with 3 authors?
One, two,
You know,
three.
so
Alright,
They're
so
all on teams. They're not.
I need to
Right.
So it's
modify
online
the.
only. So it's
Yeah,
like,
if you could.
that'd be a little bit different.
Right,
I know how to
the
do
because
trade
then,
union form.
that's what I'm,
Good with that.
Oh,
That
okay.
will
go
be
ahead, I'm interrupting you, I'm
The
sorry.
reason why I don't want.
So,
I want to finish.
I have to
before I start.
resubmit.
Yeah, resubmit it.
Resubmit.
Yeah, if you would, that would help.
Too.
It would get you
So
a
it's
little
like I
further
could
down
do
the road
3,
for what I'm
But I was like, I'd
wanting
rather just
to
do
get,
the,
and
all
I'm
3
sorry if I
Old
didn't
Testament
clarify
back
that
to
now.
back. Get done with it.
Not only find those 5
Next year,
kinds
I'll
of
hit
resources
2
to
and
help
3
research,
together.
but now
And it
put it
isn't
in the
that
right
That's why I'm
format
doing-
for a
that's why I'm doing
bibliographic
1, 2,
entry.
3
It's
for
smart.
New
Oh,
Testament.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
start
And
with
then
the
next.
last
with
name,
the
the
author.
author.
Yeah.
If it's 3 authors, then how do you rate them?
They
The
should.
bibliographic,
That's
you've
what
got a
my
bunch of
undergrad did
periods.
that every year.
Okay,
with
so you
same
asked
class
for
at the
me
same
to
time, so
do
you could-
in the
Well,
precise.
No.
Yeah,
Arabian
No,
if you could.
because
format.
they're-
Yeah,
they
because then
do-
you're
like,
just gonna
every
take
2
that,
years,
add more
they would
sources
come
to
down
that, and it's gonna
or
be
they would
part of
do
your syllabus at the end.
Philippians, or they do
So use that
That's right.
Big-
Mine,
like
yeah.
bigger books, they would do.
As
Yeah.
a,
They didn't do it every year.
as
On
an
and
end
off.
result of the.
Uh-huh.
syllabus.
Even or
Right.
odd.
Right, you're gonna hopefully add a few more than that at least, but then I get, at this assignment, I'll look at the formatting of your,
New Testament.
your entries.
Overview.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your
I'm
systematic
saying.
theology.
I just find the books.
You know, if you have time to do that, redo it. Don't worry about being late or anything. You
Okay.
know, I'm just, that's how I wanted
Those
to.
get kind of prepared
For this
those
assignment.
because they're,
That'd be
they're
great.
not as tough as you think there, but they cover a lot of material really quick that you're using.
You don't have to do the outlines of each book.
No,
2-page.
No,
summary.
no abstract, no outline, just research paper, and they're usually 15 to 20 pages. Some of them he may call for 12 to 15 pages.
Let's see, it's
grammatically
overview,
set?
oh, no. New Testament overview 3, hermeneutics,
Yeah, and a couple of the other professors did.
Systematic theology.
For Miss
The one
Udo.
you're doing.
Yeah.
On the
That's the last one for
cycle 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
systematic theology. And I've taken.
I came here,
classes that
when
Who's that?
Gramacki got here, Dr. Gramacki got here, that's when I got here, so.
I would
we
love to
kinda
be able
had
to show
a
you
lot
some.
Way
of my
back when,
theology
oh, wow.
classes I've
of fun. Who
taken.
says how
So you've been
some-
taking for a long time, sounds like.
He came, no, he got here in 2017. I got here in 2017, but I didn't get to the school here in 2017. I actually
In
started
the
school here in
world
2018. I
of
was still
theology.
finishing the
No, just write an
program,
article about it.
counseling program at
yeah.
MNU.
Yeah, that-
And then I came on over here
I
and,
know how that-
because
an
I said,
article on one of his
yeah, I don't
websites
want to,
that
I
dealt
don't
with
want
that.
to
There's an
be a
interesting
counselor
article
that
on
way.
things that I haven't
And
really.
just the Lord kind of
I
led me
have
something
put a lot
else. So
of too, but
I
other
happen to
people
have
have.
a graduate from here who's actually teaching and a Bible study up at Calvary Chapel up in St. Joe.
Hmm.
He told me about the school here, so I came here and I got here in 2018 and it was like his second
Yep,
semester.
theology and creation
Oh,
practice.
So
Is
yeah,
it
but, yeah, but it's
Okay.
funny, we just
It
both
is.
got here to the
Yep.
town at the same time.
Paul's
It was kind of
offered.
fun.
Yeah.
And you basically take
That's good.
creative.
You learn the
things like
process together.
Yes, yeah.
Art or like this. I'll show you a prime example. This is what I just.
But
built.
no, I'm not.
It took me
this
3
is
years to
not
do
it
this.
For me, I said, yeah.
Huh.
You need to get
And you're a counseling major, right? Is that what you said?
Well, I did, yeah, I started that here. I haven't finished that here. I don't know if I will. The
Yep.
Lord hasn't given me on that. I definitely did for there, but I don't know if
Yeah,
I'll
3
finish it
years.
complete here yet.
Huh.
But
So.
we'll see how the Lord leads. But
Link
right
it,
now, I
it's separate
just like
color.
to
So then whenever you
Yep.
put it
just
together, or
to
you
stay
see
with
what
where
It's
I'm at.
all-
Like I said, I'm doing
most of
travel
this
and
is
everything
supposed to-
else coming up here. That
It was supposed to be all stainless steel,
We'll get it
but
done.
some of my
We'll get it done.
galvanized rings got mixed in there.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find
So all that, and then I put black stainless steel, not stainless steel, but
one.
yeah, stainless steel, but black around the outside,
Uh-huh.
and it's copper on the inside.
It's actual copper links.
Yep.
Okay,
copper.
because it looks copper.
Oh, it is copper.
Pretty cool.
14 gauge
Yeah.
very nice.
armor of God.
Hmm.
It literally is like
30, 40, 50.
50 links long. I forget how.
A pretty big one.
Yeah, I mean, it's laying on the floor and it's not even this, I mean,
Hmm.
and I don't think I got spread
How
out.
heavy is it?
I'd say a good 4 pounds.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's like I said, it's stainless steel. Now you can make it
Yeah.
aluminum
Yeah.
I could buy all the rings for aluminum and do it, and it wouldn't take me nearly as long.
Yeah.
But my next thing I got in, I actually got into the truck, and I'm making crosses.
How you were writing.
With
I
Byzantine
use,
style.
I use English and Japanese.
Have you seen the chainmail crosses?
Didn't know if you did or not. I was thinking.
I don't think so.
My wife was funny when she came back from Europe. I met her when she had gotten back from Europe. She was still trying to write stuff in German. And, my wife, she says, she's Asian. She should be, I said, no, she actually writes in German. She can't, she's terrible at radicals and Chinese. She's just terrible.
They're shot now.
Yeah, her mom's trying to teach me for years. I kind of gave up on it because I was learning some, but I didn't get the concept. Because radicals, you think if you built upon them, they mean something. They don't do that. They all, all 2,800 of them don't mean anything similar to the other one. You don't build on them. Like central is basically the cross with the thing on that central Chang. But you have another little branch on top of it up over here. It actually means America, but it has nothing to do with Chang. It had, I thought maybe Central America or something. They don't work that way. You don't build on a radical and make some. To me, it was almost like a sentence you'd think, but it's not. And so you have to learn each individual. I think in Japanese too. Is it correct? Yeah, and it's like, oh my gosh, so you got to memorize that whole thing. And I'm like, that's like, oh, that's tough to do it.
Yeah.
Hebrew is actually easier than doing one of the radicals.
Okay, so not
2.5 inches,
yeah, but
And then she
This
got to
one's
do it
hard.
because she's always been
Yeah.
trying to give me the vowels and everything
yeah,
else.
small
on
rings.
her
that's
stuff.
the thing. Yeah, it's like those rings.
How
I'm not
ma,
using it.
how ma,
Yeah,
whoa,
like little
how,
meanings and stuff.
yeah, so you go, how. And she just teaches me how to do that. And so when they're doing the language and stuff, and she taught me very formal. So when I go to Taiwan, they're like, just go.
These are like.
Or, you don't have to go the whole.
And
But I was
5/16.
like, that's how I was taught. So that's how I was
So
trying to
they're
say it.
small.
She's good. Yeah, she is. She's fun.
Yeah, so here it is.
She's enjoying Taiwan right
19
now. She's
gauge,
80.
quarter inch.
She's in Taiwan right now.
Inches.
That's her home, so she's with her
Okay.
family there, so
Yeah.
she's just having
I mean,
it
not
all.
big, but yeah, that's.
She's with two of her
that'd be hard to
daughters
make.
and son-in-law right now. My wife
Actually,
couldn't go
really easy.
on this
Is it?
trip,
Yeah.
and we're
Just
gonna be in
time-consuming?
Florida to see them.
Okay,
They're all
yeah.
coming to
But I
Florida,
do it,
so we'll
like
see them
reading.
there before we head
Okay.
on our other trip.
I'll take it like
But
read,
I'm kind of sad that I
No,
couldn't
no,
get
no,
my
okay.
wife to Taiwan, so she could be with her
put it aside,
mom.
read some more.
there.
It's
We were
like
there though,
my
and
mind, it like,
we were in
Something
Taiwan in
new.
20.
it keeps my
Yeah.
mind.
14, I think it was,
trying to
14. Yeah. One time.
8 years. 9
Yeah.
years.
The biggest thing
Yeah,
is
but it was
not
still
eating.
cool. I love Taiwan.
Yeah.
That's another
I-
country. Have you been to Taiwan?
Oh, I'm just fly by.
Yeah.
You need to go. That's another country.
And
Taiwan's very safe too.
Yeah.
So you don't have problems. That's what's nice about Japan, Taiwan, stuff. You can go to a lot of some of the other Asian countries. I'm like, yeah, you gotta watch yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some
Exactly.
countries that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you don't head over to Burma and say, hey, I'm just gonna go out to the jungle. I'm like, yeah, big mistake.
Chainmail.
You ever read the missionary book called Brushko?
No, I haven't.
You should read that
I
one.
just built that.
He just went out into the jungle.
Oh,
It went terribly.
That's not
He
bad,
lived.
but
Abe's
it's-
story was really good, but I mean, he
Yeah,
died.
yeah.
what
Yep, I
country?
made that.
Venezuela.
Venezuela. Oh, yeah.
See,
Okay.
chainmail, rings.
It is fantastic to read. It's basically like don't do, it worked
So,
for
like,
me, but please don't do this. It was almost died a couple different times. Thought he was getting
Buy
started. He had a
rings.
tapeworm,
Shop now.
and he had not eaten.
See,
so long,
rings.
the tapeworm started to come out all through his esophagus. He had a dream.
These
He
are
was-
made by rings.
Yep, it's all rings.
Chain all of them.
Yep, see,
When do you use?
So it was
When do
just
you
searching,
think
and it came
use
all the way
the-
up through. I mean,
That, will I ever use it? No, that right now it's gonna be hanging on my wall.
Yeah, I don't.
But like these, you can go through and buy different kits. They have these different kits that you can buy where you can make like pretty necklaces. You can learn how to make a dragon.
That's cool.
Yeah, butterfly. You can make butterflies.
No, I mean, it is just, it's
Um,
crazy, but I mean, the man is still.
all kinds of
Bugs.
things.
Still serving, I mean, it worked.
Yeah,
but
bug.
it-
Oh, these are bugs. Yeah, these are
All the
bugs.
things that could go wrong.
So the bugs look like
It's like, Because I was considering getting admission.
Oh, they don't show it.
Several years ago.
No, they don't show it. Never mind. They might show it.
So are these just the rings that the purchaser
Uh-huh.
should make?
Yeah, you buy them and then you create things.
Okay.
You buy the rings
It's a good read.
and then you can make things like that. Let's see, I'll see if I can find
So do
it.
they offer how to make it?
Yeah.
How to create?
Oh, yeah. You can learn how to make it. You can YouTube like,
But I've been there and I said, yeah, you
Let's
know,
see.
and I said, I'm not saying possible, I said, you will be in trouble. I said,
So is this your idea?
Yep. See here, these are some of the different bracelets you can make.
Some places. No, yeah, exactly. Some countries here just gotta be very careful.
This is silver.
Yeah.
But you can make this.
So how many countries-
Yeah, he goes, just walk out the street, he goes, you can figure it out. I'm like,
Carry your Bible in the.
Yeah.
Dr. Dobbs?
Yeah.
I'll show you this real quick.
You
Before we
go
start back.
What's he got? He goes, okay. He goes, if you approach.
I was showing everybody else.
That's okay. He goes.
That's like this.
He goes, because they will just murder you and they.
2 to 3 years.
He goes, they don't.
Chainmail.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
like, yeah, he goes, don't be.
Metal?
That's what he said.
Stainless
He
steel
taught
and
in
copper.
Copper at Jordan
made
in the
this?
theological seminary over there.
All the
And he
links.
said he
You
would
know, I
tell
bought
us
the
all the time,
links,
don't be stupid.
but I
Don't,
stitched them all
don't
together.
act like you're gonna be some great.
There's over
person.
1,000 links in there.
Because you're just.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's like, yeah, don't
Wow.
be dumb.
So are
You
these?
know, you can mess up in the Middle East anytime, and they don't care.
All right,
They'll kill you, and they're perfectly justified in it, and no one is gonna.
Black is stainless steel. It's just
For what they
like
did,
coated
because you blasted
stainless
their
steel.
and you're in an Islamic state.
Stainless.
So you expect to have.
And there's tribal understanding.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
the
so
silver.
you gotta understand that too, and I said,
Cool.
yeah.
And got it.
It's
And
hard to
got it.
go and it's incredible.
I never-
what people- I mean,
I used to belong to a group called Society for
I was
Creative
with,
Anachronism.
fortunately with.
Creative anachronism?
Yes, sir. SCA.
What is the- Renaissance.
Yep, Renaissance.
Really?
But we were medieval historians.
Yeah.
Recreate,
Yeah.
relive
They figured
medieval
out.
history.
And some people
And I was a heavy fighter. Built my own armor, own my own stuff.
You have built your own armor?
Uh-huh.
Did you take?
When one of those guys got up on the horses, they were,
Kelsey,
how much did they weigh? Do you know?
about 75 pounds.
Is that all?
I had to
Wow.
take-
Well, I mean, 75 pounds added to your body is a lot.
Well, you would have think the armor would be, yeah, they're just sitting there on a horse.
It's 14 gauge, imagine 14 gauge steel.
Of course, the horse has to carry it too, and he has to carry it fast, so I guess you'd want it light.
Yeah.
As light as you
no,
can, but as strong as you can.
14 gauge steel. I mean, think about,
Okay.
you know, from biblical sense,
Now.
Yeah.
you
So,
know,
yeah,
a steel sword.
Yeah, so he's got 1, 2, 3.
So, yeah.
And do Potter-
Now, are you familiar with the Lord of the Rings? See this?
Yes, sir.
I'm not familiar with some mithril.
Yeah, me too.
How did they make mithril?
Yeah, that's, but, yeah,
I mean, that's magical.
So that's
Yep.
the guy.
that's very base.
It's not a metal thing. All right, guys, let's talk about the big picture. I don't have a former assignment. I think I saved one somewhere where somebody wrote a prose outline as an example, because this has come up before, but I can't find it. So let's just show you what I do have. Where did I put it? Come on, man. Now, did I close it out? Yes, no, here it's here. There it is. No, it isn't. It's
That is big.
here.
He got blown up, Doc.
No, I have to. Well, it's blown up, but I want to make sure I've got Teams. I'm trying to go back to Teams so I can show the class session. And I've got to stop sharing, but start sharing with this screen. And I want to show. Is it that way? Which window is it? No, it's not PowerPoint. But I want to show a window. If I just show, what do you see, Sean? Do you still have yours up?
Yes, sir.
Are you seeing this?
No, I don't, sir. I see your file.
You see this?
No, sir. Let me refresh.
All right, what I'm wanting to show is this. You can see a title there, A Biblical Philosophy of Just War. If I'm not sharing that right, I need to go back and do it. Let me stop and share again.
Now it's just you, sir.
So I want to share a window. But all I have is class session the other. If I go to the total screen, let me.
You go back to Chrome tab.
Hit entire screen, sir.
I hit entire screen.
There you go. Now I see it.
Now you see it.
Yep.
Wow, why would it be different?
Entire screen gives you everything that's on your screen. Makes you want to hide stuff.
Okay. This is a syllabus, Matt Sanders on Just War. He wrote, so it's as you're going to end up, this is the form of the final assignment. It's going to be titled, notice it's a thesis presented to, even though it's a syllabus, you're going to title it just like you were finishing it up. In partial fulfillment degree for a Master of Divinity with your name at the bottom.
On that title page, do you have how many lines you need to have that and all that, kind of like the setup? Will you be giving something like that to us? Yep. Okay, sir.
Now, why don't I go down? Okay, and the due date. You were talking about a detailed outline. This is where I've confused people with the name detailed outline. This is a detailed outline, contents page. You know, because this is what I would use for detailed outline. This is what I'm assuming. So I'm going to try to use Prose, or when I say detail, this is what I mean. This is what it looked like, chapter, the title of the chapter, the subheadings, major subheadings. You only put the major, the second level headings. You're going to have third and fourth level, perhaps. But that's all you include with the page number in the syllabus off to the right. So that's his whole, he's doing a biblical study for chapter 2. Modern philosophers, popular culture. So there's his literature research. He's talking about other people in chapter 3, and additional biblical support. Now, for a Master of Divinity, we're really wanting to have a praxis of ministry chapter, and that's your 4th chapter. So I don't know what he's covering here in his conclusion. So notice that's 14 pages. It's not a lot, and your bibliography at the end. So let's go through it. Chapter 1, introduction. So this is what it's going to look at the final, but this is not what you're doing here. Here, just give it a title, start talking about in your prose outline, that I'm asking you to do for a couple weeks from here. Not next week because we're not here. Just talk to yourself. You know, what you would say in chapter 1. So you're going to be introduced. This is my point. This is the background. These are maybe some people that I need to talk about. Chapter 2, what are you going to do? All right, I'm going to do a biblical study. You're talking to yourself. What that means, you don't have to talk first person. You know, you just write as you want to write. But lay out what you're going to cover in that chapter. You're not at this level that we're seeing on the computer, because he's finished his syllabus, put it together. Now he started to writing. But that's a prose outline, and it's going to be 2-3 pages. You could double space, you could single space. I'm not worried about formatting here.
How's that going to be 2 to 3 pages?
If you're only covering 4 chapters, 3 pages, maybe. What are you saying?
The prose is going to be a 3-page?
Is that too few? Is that what you're saying?
Too long, unless I mean.
Is that too long?
Well, I don't know. I'm asking you, sir.
2 to 3 pages. Yeah, that's what I'm envisioning. It's short. Because you're just really wanting to get in front of you, start putting it down on paper, because you laid it out. Now you're starting to talk to yourself. Okay, there's my reason that I'm going to cover in my 2nd chapter, and these are the places I need to go. These are the things I need to prove. I think.
Okay, so basically so I'm just lining a whole bunch of stuff out.
Right, and putting in a time. This is what I realized I maybe need to add in here. If I were doing this in the whole process, and you're actually covering a thesis. Again, I'm using that as just an example of the biggest outline here. 6 months to cover this, meaning write my whole thesis from proposal to the other. All right, the first couple of weeks, I figure out a proposal, start doing it real quick, brief initial bibliography like you did, attach it to my proposal. Your advisor looks at that. Okay, that's a good idea. Write me a syllabus. The next month, write a syllabus. All this we're talking about. So this is, it could be a sit down. It'd be a couple of days writing this, maybe. I don't know how fast a thinker or writer. You're trying to capture your thoughts into the prose outline.
So it's a rough outline.
Yeah. Gist of concept, not of outline, meaning,
Yeah.
Right, no, I mean, to me, a rough outline is exactly that, is me throwing, like I do in my notes.
Mhm.
I'm basically jotting down, okay, I want to talk about Paul
yep.
and his works, boom.
Yep.
I want to talk about Paul
And
defining
where,
works.
what specific works? Maybe you'd add that in there. Now in chapter 3, what am I gonna do? So you're taking this and now I'm gonna start putting to paper what's been in my thoughts. Here I just organized it, what we were talking about last
And
week.
that's what we're trying to figure out, is because the way you got the assignments run is when you want them done. I think that's what my problem is.
The
is going-
syllabus,
Not the syllabus. I'm not going off the syllabus. I'm going off of the assignments page that you have listed in,
that's a good thing. I need to go back there.
because right
Canvas?
now I'm seeing initial biography, language exercise, practical format writing. Then you've got outline, abstract. Then you want leading body paragraph.
Yeah, you're just talking. Oh, yeah, that's where you got this from, James. This is where you took this from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I sketched this out because I said, oh, okay. When I say write it out, notice I said 1 or 2 sentences. All right, I think I need to cut. And it's looking like an outline, but I'm really saying talk about these things.
A lot more
In
than
each
1 or 2
section.
sentences, it looks like, though.
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay.
But at least put it down in writing.
Okay.
And that's where I know that some of us are a little bit more sketchy.
So 5A is you want that basically right there.
The third sketchy.
Yep.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt anybody else.
No,
So
you're right.
you want chapter 1, what we're talking about.
Just a
boom.
couple sentences.
And
but
you
it
want
might be a
that for
couple
each
more.
one. And you want that for each chapter.
Yeah,
Section.
cover that. Yep.
Each chapter, and there's a couple sections in each one. You got a reason and you got evidence.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah. So you're starting to get down on paper,
and then.
and
that's
that'll
an
help your
outline.
thinking.
And then on the next one, you have,
The next one, what?
Can it be 3 or 4 pages?
He's-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can
I
even
said
be
2 or
longer
3.
if you wanted
I guess
to.
I'm envisioning single space if you did that. Some people do. This is not a paper where it has to be totally formatted correctly. Just put your name at the top of the class. And I'm not looking at formatting here. I'm wanting you to just start thinking like you'd be writing to yourself.
and then 5B is the abstract.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking one of
And-
those subjects. Sorry, go ahead.
Right.
Is 5B the abstract and another outline, or is it just the
Nope,
abstract?
just the abstract.
If I've written it, there's 2 parts to it. This assignment, you're gonna write an outline, your prose outline,
And then the
and then you're gonna
abstract.
write an abstract.
Okay.
So you
So
click on that
assignment
one,
4,
follow instructions, let me give you, consult the samples. I'm gonna give you some samples here in a second.
You got a sample of the abstract?
Yep.
Oh,
So it
good.
does-
Just,
say right
just
there.
show you some different ones.
Yeah, that's
Pardon?
so it does say assignment number 4, which I don't get number
Yeah,
5B.
The numbers, I realized I changed a few things there. The numbers might be wrong.
So you
It
want
should
the
be
detailed-
5B
You
right
want,
here.
you want a detailed outline and an abstract thesis.
Well, again, that word should be prose outline.
Prose
Yeah,
outline.
so we don't have to do 2 hours.
So
Just one.
5A is that.
5 is a prose outline and abstract.
This 5 is the abstract. 5B is the abstract. Outline is 5A?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't change that. I changed the
Well,
other
no,
assignments.
what I'm trying, so why?
No,
why
you're
not
right.
Just put them together as like 5,
Uh-huh.
do away with 5A, 5B and say, okay, you wanted 2 outlines.
No,
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 just
no,
one
no, no,
outline.
no. One
No.
outline, one abstract.
See, that's what's throwing me off.
That's
because
what we were talking about.
Okay,
Yeah,
I need to correct that then. No, this should be just for the abstract, 5B at the top, Shane, or Sean,
yes, sir.
5B. Now, I didn't change that. I'm just taking, this is the wording from the syllabus. So now you read the guidelines for this and follow the instructions, write an abstract. So for this assignment, it's just the abstract part of it.
And then the abstract is what we're gonna cover later on.
Right now, we're gonna cover it now. What we'll do. Does that help everybody? Good, thank you. I will try to clarify that
What is
confusion.
what is the second says?
What is here? Consult the samples
Mhm.
presented in the lecture for examples of a thesis abstract. Let me do that right now. I'll show you this.
Watching all
It's
this.
good, give us a
Yeah,
second. That's
I'm
basically,
still sorry, Brian.
that's basically what that's saying.
So, While you're pulling this up, Dr. Dobbs, you can multitask.
Maybe I can, maybe I can't. Go ahead.
For
Yes,
a
I
normal
got you.
10-page paper, the introduction is how long?
Good rule of thumb, if I'm writing a 10-page body, double spaced, usually 10% at the most. So what's that, 1 page?
1 page.
That's what we did.
Yeah, for
That's what
that.
Stephen Mapes had said.
And
Yeah.
then your conclusion about 5%. So it's just a half page
Okay.
normally,
But for something like this, for a 20-page or more,
a couple pages.
okay.
Your syllabus, in fact, see, I just know usually you're going to write more, so it could be 3, could even be 4 pages for that
See, then
first
you throw that
chapter.
word syllabus in again, and I don't understand why. If we're doing a paper, what's the difference? Between
We're not doing a paper, we're doing a syllabus for basically.
That's
Like I said,
okay.
It's the
You're
syllabus
struggling
for a thesis. Think of it that way. It's the syllabus
So,
to do a
for a
thesis.
thesis. Yeah.
Does that make sense, Ed?
Yeah.
no, it's okay.
He does the syllabus for the class. We're doing a syllabus for our thesis.
Right, but why a syllabus? I don't understand what the purpose of a syllabus is.
So give us a definition.
Hang in there. It's to confuse all my students. I think.
That's a good job of it.
Let's
I'm
call it,
doing it,
let's
yes.
call it what?
I can give you an A on that, sir.
A research
I have
paper.
accomplished my course objective. Confuse the students. That's assignment number
Thesis
1.
paper, research paper, let's call it what it is. Let's not-
I'm sorry, but this is a term technically used. All right, you're looking at a handout. At least Schwang, stop the video and open up this handout. It's below where you got the link here for the video, and it's called Abstract. Abstracts Purdue University OWL, Online Writing and Learning Center, I think is what ALEC stands for. And so I just took it directly from them. It seemed like it'd be an interesting example. It's a secular example, but yet it gives you information about writing an abstract. So you read down the left side, and what are you going to accomplish in an abstract? And they have those bullet points. They have a number of words, 150, 200. What is that? How long is a double-spaced, normal, typewritten, Times New Roman, 12-pitch piece of paper?
It's gonna be a page. Well, it's be close to 2/3 of the page.
Yeah, this might be 150, about half. Okay, so a normal typewritten piece of paper, I think about 300 words. Most of us, some people squeeze in 330. That's a lot of small words, but we write with a lot of big words. You're academics, so I think about 300. That works fairly good. So you've got a paragraph, double spaced, it's about a half a page. Okay, a little bit more maybe, if you want to add it. You can see the things that you usually conclude: a statement of the problem, a statement of the significance, a statement of the employed methods, meaning I'm going to do a biblical study, I'm going to do a theological study, I'm going to do a what are you going to do? How are you going to prove your point? What areas of, what types of reasoning are you going to argue your point?
Is this gonna be the abstract for our paper too?
What do you mean? Your abstract for your paper?
Okay, excuse me, for our syllabus, will this be the abstract we use for our syllabus, or do we have another abstract we have to do
No,
for the syllabus?
No, this would be the abstract for. So you're going to
Okay.
bring this, the prose outline's a unique one. You're starting the leading body paragraphs. Oh, that's going to be part of my syllabus because I'm just going to keep adding on to it, typing it more.
Okay.
When I get there.
Just want to make sure.
The initial bibliography you've done, you're just going to tack that at the end. But you're also, maybe in the process, you're going to find a couple resources. So I hope maybe you'll add to it. But yes, you're going to bring in all these assignments. The things that you're going to add to your syllabus, you're going to give it a table of contents. Don't use the word table. You're going to give it a contents page. You're going to have a title page. And that's it. You're going to add your bibliography there at the end. So the abstract will be there. You're going to have your title page, and I'm going to ask you to put the abstract there. Sometimes they ask you to put the abstract separate from your paper, meaning way out. All right, but here's an abstract. Now, let me clarify the point of the process. And I need to reiterate it a couple times here. Usually you don't write the abstract until you're done with your paper. Because I know what I've done. I know what I've proved. This is my points. But unfortunately, for the sake of the class, rather than wait to pile everything on you in the last assignment, well, And what this will help you do, you're writing your prose outline. All right, now step back and imagine that's what I'm going to prove. And I know I'm going to prove it, and write an abstract. Now, ultimately, really, maybe you don't end up doing exactly that, but it gives you an example of, all right, here's what I think I've proven. That's really what an abstract's saying, and you see a sample abstract. Now, there's a lot of verbiage there. The sample abstract, they talk about it. So it's really on the right-hand side of this piece of paper. You see, it's fairly long. If we double space that, wow, that'd be more than a half a piece of paper there. And you can see how they talk. Pardon?
Are we putting quotes in there?
Usually you don't.
Okay, so no quotes?
No, because there's no, it's just you talking about what you're doing in your paper. Now, in your syllabus, you're going to start having some source information, and so you'll have some footnotes.
We still don't use first person.
Oh, no, not in academic work.
Well, I know, I just make it,
Yeah.
the way you make it sound
Yeah.
is like we're writing and say, I'm going to talk about this today, blah, blah, blah.
In your prose outline, if you do some of that, that's fine. I don't have to worry about it there.
Like I'm always afraid of using we or.
No, you're not talking to anybody in your prose outline. You're talking to yourself. I think I need to, okay, if you want to write that tentatively, fine. I just want to see your thinking at this point.
Right, I get that. I'm talking about for this abstract
All
part.
right. When you write the abstract, think I'm writing academically, third person.
And the only time you use this is just for a syllabus, because it says here for conference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have other information there. If you're talking about this sample from
Yes, sir.
it's just, I liked it because it gave me a good basic list of what goes in there.
So
And you're hearing somebody else talk. Let's look at another handout. I'm going to close this and hopefully, John, do you see this one now?
Give me a second, sir. I'm pulling it up. Douglas K. Smith.
Yep. All right.
Sir.
Here are some abstracts, and these are people these are papers that we publish in Ijova. Who, where, when, what. Notice the long title he gave that there. Shorter paragraph. The Hebrew phrase, he should have had English there, but I wasn't thinking of doing that at this point. Can refer to physical location or people. Its referential meaning. It's included in an extent, can often be written. This study focuses on the 30 uses of. Study demonstrates that preceding, so there's his thesis, last sentence. Not a lot to it. Here's another one. Oh, wow, where did it come up?
Where did you get that one?
The thing
That was one of the. I didn't see
is
that
one of the
somewhere.
articles that we published in Ijova.
But it's not on,
Oh, yeah,
But did you have that?
right up at the top.
Now, why is it not doing it here?
Where's that?
Right here.
Oh, there it is.
Like
All
files, so this is files.
right, here's another article. This is a friend of Dr. Granados, our president. He knows Jeremiah Muti. He's out at Master's Seminary. He's gracious to submit an article. Notice he has a couple paragraphs.
thank
And
you.
some abbreviations there. Let's go to the next one here. Here's another one. I left it double spaced. Robert Clark, Public Justice, Martin Luther King. I did not use his article. We felt like maybe the Martin Luther King discussion, he had a good point, but okay, anyway, here's another example. And here's Greg Thorne, one of our graduates. I don't know if he's finished his PhD yet. He's a chaplain in the Air Force, deployed over, where's he at? Somewhere in the Middle East right now. So he stepped out. And so that's a fourth example. So these aren't real long, you know?
Yeah, I noticed that. That's why I say most of the ones I was looking at, even your example was like a 2-3 liner.
Yeah, well, maybe we should say a little bit more, but no, they're not long. It's just enough for me to see what's your point, what's the problem, how are you going to approach the solving of it, and that's it. So I know whether I'm going to go, and this is the sample that is in Canvas for us. All right, what else do I want to cover? That's abstracts. Here in abstracts. Let me go back to my PowerPoint. the problem. No, it doesn't include it. Shoot, I need to change my slide. When you're thinking of an abstract, there is a methodology. You definitely set the context, meaning people are talking about the rapture and they're just doing it wrong. I'm talking off the top of my head. So the problem is, does the rapture occur before or after? Or, again, I'm making it up off the top of my head. So you set a context, identify the problem, then give your main point. Or you set the context and the problem, and we're going to cover, and I don't give you my main point. Now, usually we don't do that. Usually you want to say what your solution is there. If you publish your research, some researcher down the line may want to find it using a search engine that looks for keywords. So in your abstract, one of the important things to do is, and I don't have it here, is use keywords in your abstract because it'll be searchable. You've seen with Mrs. Smith when she was here, that one database that just has abstracts. So there's where you're thinking of keywords that you're using throughout. That's what you want to include in your abstract as well. Now, again, you're writing an abstract before you've written the paper. And so you wouldn't do this normally for a syllabus, but this is for a class. So I'm asking you to write a syllabus as if you were done with writing your thesis or your paper. A word about our normal structure here, and this is what I've been talking about. If you don't have a structure for any of your thoughts here for this class's purposes, for your syllabus, just do what we're doing. Just structure it like this. Your first is an introduction, sets the problem. You give your solution and maybe some background, but you definitely talk about your approach. What are you going to cover? So I'm going to cover a biblical study of, and then a study of people who have talked, these two significant ones, and the practical implications of my position, chapter 4. All right, so that's what you're talking about in the introduction. Chapter 2, now you're going to actually do your biblical study. What are your reasons? Meaning, what are the biblical passages that I need to cover? What are the theological concepts or terms that I need to cover? Chapter 3, the answers of others, meaning that's just my title, but I'm trying to address how other people have solved this problem. John?
Would that be where you put your commentaries in?
Yeah,
This
yep,
person
because now you're
said-
interacting with other people. Sometimes you're going to talk about it here because your commentary means he addressed this verse this way, and okay, you might want to state them there, but the relative to the larger topic, yeah, that's where you'd be addressing people's conclusions. And then now I'm coming back with my chapter 4, which is, this is why, practically speaking, why what I've proven in the Bible and what I've demonstrated is inadequate here, why this is best. So you see the progression of logical thinking as you're moving throughout your paper. And then your final conclusion there would be summation. This is the problem, this is my point, or this is the problem, others haven't solved it well because of this and this and this, but this is why I think is the best. And you end with strength there with your strongest argument. Not to argue it again, but to just present it. And those that want to take it further, as I said, all these other points, you could study this and this and this. Does that help? I think that's all I want to cover for that point, but I got one more handout that's in Canvas, and I'm going to give everybody in the room a handout, and hopefully this will clear some of the mud up. But maybe not. I've been talking about it, but now I want to clarify it. Li Shuang, one other handout to open up in Canvas. This would be the syllabus information is what we're looking at. This handout here.
You gave this to us last.
Sir?
No, this is.
I gave you one. If I gave it last time, there's some changes I've made on it because I'm looking back at it and I'm going, I've not. See, this is where I'm trying to clarify the information a little bit for you all. So hopefully this will be a little bit better. Chuck out any last one that I had.
Throw this one right in.
Yeah, if I gave you one last time, I couldn't remember. Chuck that one out. Here's Sean, you've been asking. The Oxford English Dictionary defines a syllabus as a concise statement or table of the heads of a discourse, the contents of a treatise, the subjects of a series of lectures, a compendium, abstract summary, epitome. So we're thinking in the middle, we're using it, and we've traditionally used the term syllabus for thesis is also in a technical sense as a specific kind of paper presentation product, final product for a degree of study. But you're thinking more of the contents of a treatise. I mean, this is the statement I'm making. This is the truth I'm arguing for, and this is how I'm going to argue.
15 to 2,000. That's not many words.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. In fact, you took it that way, and that's real. I'm thinking of 1,500. It's on the short side. 300, 5 pages,
Yeah.
up to 8 pages, but that's the body. So you're going to have a title page, an abstract. You think of the 15 to 20 pages. You know, if you're 13, 15 is what you might be. You've got maybe a 3-page bibliography already, maybe 2-page. I don't know.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
You got a title page, abstract page, context page. There's 3 pages there. So I put an 8-page paper into there on top of it. Oh, I'm up to 12 pages already in a bibliography.
Okay. So because every time you say 15 to 20, in my brain, I'm thinking that's what the
body. Nope. That's
a big difference.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the paper.
I mean, did you understand it? Did you think it the same way?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can understand that.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I need to, and that's what I changed.
You're right. Asked. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's why I changed my thinking. I need to put this word limit here because that's really more what I'm
Oh,
thinking.
the other one said not including the biblical.
Yeah. I think the.
Yes, we did have that. See, I've
Yeah.
cobbled some things together
Oh,
from
okay.
other times the course has been taught, and I've not gotten all the words out.
You said earlier that you had, I see this, but the actual formatting for like how you want the title page to show for the syllabus and all that, is that coming later?
Yes, I have another handout. I didn't include it here. Let me show you where it's at. If you want to go to head, it's module 5, I think.
Are we on module 5?
No, we're in
No.
4.
Yeah, but yeah, so I went into module 5, I went into those and I don't think it was published for us. Maybe I missed.
Oh, it isn't. It isn't. I could publish it for you
Okay, that's why,
to find it.
because I'm sitting there looking for them and
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't find it. And I was like, I bet you got something.
Sample. Oh, no.
Okay. Let me.
No, where is it?
Week 4 is November 3rd.
Oh, this is it. This is the one right here.
Because we don't have.
And December, right.
This is in 5. This comes from the old seminary manual. So I just
I saw that.
PDF the pages out here.
Okay,
So here's samples. It's going to give you a sample of a title page / research paper, abstract, thesis is what that applies to. And here's
oh, good. That's
9
what I
space
want. The 9
lines.
lines, that's what I was
9
looking for, because I'm
lines.
sitting there going, I
9
need all that.
lines. Yep.
Okay, good, that's gonna be.
And it's good. Here's your abstract page, context of the abstract.
I'm
Now,
sitting there going,
we don't need the
know what you want
readers.
for it.
It's 3 hours.
We're not using readers for
That's
this.
the hardest part for me sometimes. I
Oh,
can write a
getting that title
paper and I'm sitting
page.
there formatting.
And now
Oh,
here's your
tries to be at the wall.
sample title page again. Wow.
And which one did you say
Yeah,
that
2
was
different
under?
things.
Yeah, I was
Module
gonna
5.
say, which title page do you want? There's 2 of them there.
Week 5.
Oh, the difference is, this is a paper. Seminary research paper. Doesn't matter, use one or the other.
Okay.
Because again, so one of them says, the first one's a paper, this is for, specifically for a thesis
I don't think we're, yeah,
at the top. So it doesn't matter, use one or the other.
okay.
And now contents page, so when you find it above your syllabus, you're gonna have what we showed earlier with that sample. And then
Oh, okay.
and you're gonna do just what looks like a normal paper there.
Okay.
But that's in module 5, which is published now, and it says thesis, CU example covered. And there's another sample from J.D. Huxman. Daniel Huxman that you talked to in the ID department, that's his brother. There's a
Okay.
Timothy Hooksman too. 3 of them in the school here. All right.
That's the important one.
Wow. See, I put that in Greek 4. Maybe I gotta change
Yeah, I'll
that.
say, yeah, because your weeks are all, no offense, I did not.
I know, I
Weeks
moved
are
them
all
around.
out of
I'm
whack.
sorry, Sean. I messed you up. I gotta check on that one too, because it does say 4. All right, that's the, talk about paper formatting today. Any other questions on the abstract and the prose outline?
On that prose outline, will you be pretty literal on the grading of that? Because
Yep.
I'll have to say that I'm gonna be
Yep.
kind of interested in grading that one. Okay.
Yep.
At least you're honest.
I'm looking for you to cover what you think you need to cover in that chapter to present that reason.
Yeah,
If you're thinking down there, what kinds of evidence do you think you might need to do? I know I need to deal with this word, that word. Here's a couple people that I know I need to read and study. You're talking to
and I
yourself.
definitely want the critique on that because it'll help us with the
Yep.
syllabus, because that way we've got, am I going the right direction here?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So you're just processing your thinking about proving your thesis.
So your
That you
PhD
have
students, I
experience.
would imagine, come back and forth to you quite a bit, trying to get
Mhm.
stuff ready for
Yeah.
their.
Yeah,
I
because
can
they
see-
got to present each chapter and so many pages in a chapter and have a dialogue about it. And,
I can see why.
and
I can see why.
go back and do that again.
So what you're asking is basically they turn in the syllabus first. And then they turn around and then they're doing the actual paper
Yes.
Yeah, they get.
They
or
start
the
doing
dissertation. They don't call it paper,
dissertation.
dissertation.
At the seminary level for the MDiv, we ask them to turn in 2 chapters. So you'll turn in chapter 1 and 2. Those are usually your major, oh, wow, I got to dive into it. And at the end of that, we'll have a conversation, because then they've got to go back and make some revisions to that
See,
normally.
that's what made them the authors.
While they're writing the next 3 chapters, and then they're going to have to go back with that. And then they're going to present their first draft, which is everything together. And then they're going to present a second draft, which is pretty good text. Now we're working more with the formatting.
What's the average length of pages is that? That's all single spaced, right?
Well, for a thesis, master's thesis here is 50 to 75 pages. For a doctoral dissertation, it's going to be 300 pages, probably.
Single or double?
Double,
Is it, okay.
but here's an interesting thing. Dr. Gramecki and I are just now
Yeah, we were
working
asking-
with.
that was what he was
If you
saying.
write a thesis here and a dissertation here, we're going to actually ask you to put it in book form so you could publish.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
he was saying Friday night, you guys.
Yeah, so it's going to be,
Yeah.
but it works out. If you start with a double space document
Mhm.
and crunch it down, you end up about the same pages to single space, because then it formats
'cause
the
the
pages
formatting,
different,
yeah.
6x9.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
trying to figure out how many words it was for the dissertation.
Oh,
I think it
wow.
was.
A 35 page paper, where you at, 8,000,
Yeah, I think he was trying to figure out, what he was asking the other day.
30,000 maybe words. I
Mosh, you
don't
remember
know.
that?
I'm not up on.
I do remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was trying to figure out, I think you had to try to figure out how many words per whatever. Sorry, I know you're wanting to go.
No, you're fine, Sean, because that's what a lot of us do. We put it in words instead of
I got a
number
lot
of
of good
pages.
notes now. Now I feel a little bit more fuzzy, warm, what,
Good.
a
I'm
little
good.
bit.
That is fuzzy.
Now that I know that it's only 15 to 2,500 words,
For the
that's not a
body,
problem.
for the body.
For the body, yes.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. I can,
That's less than your one for the last class.
yeah, exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick. I
Yeah.
mean, and I apologize. Thank you for putting up with me.
No, that's part of the process here.
Well,
Nothing's worse than
that's my
saying,
classmate.
go figure it out.
Well, that's my classmate's my
All right, where are we going? Let's talk about Greek and Hebrew here. A little
No,
bit.
please, come on. This is a writing class, not a.
No. Well, it's a little bit of both here.
I know, I'm just kidding, Dr. Dom. So.
What am I gonna do? I'm gonna get the PowerPoint up. Verbs and verbals, that's what we can call them. Sean, help me out. Get it seen there in Canvas?
Verbs, yes, sir.
Verbs, good. Let's talk about it. Thinking back about English here. Verbs describes an action, a state of being, what we say in English, or an occurrence. meaning you hear, it became, it happened. Verbs, they explain what a sentence says about the subject or it's the action relative to the subject. You could add in there, meaning he said, she hit, it was. Pardon?
It's not loading on our side.
What's not on our side? Is it not showing?
No, not on my side, it's not. I mean, on my computer, on your. Did you try?
Is it in Canvas? Can we see? I want to make sure he's wrong. You can't.
Nope, right now, it just gives me the circle of death.
All right. Cool. Let's go back to.
Are you having the same problem?
I'll stop sharing and share again.
Yeah.
I'll start over.
Can you load it?
Try again.
If I go to the entire screen, it should show it and
So
show
you're,
it.
there you go, now it's working.
And where was that at? PowerPoint. Does that work then?
Okay, I'm good. Yep.
Verbs, same thing we had before. All right, the verbs though are a little bit more complicated. They have person, they have number, they have tense. And we're still talking English. Masashi, I'm assuming you have the same in Japanese with your verbs. Do you have, what are they called in Japanese?
Verbs, yeah.
It's a verb. It's an action word that you have or
Yes,
something.
it is.
That's good.
Person. English says this with words, meaning nouns and pronouns. First person, I spoke. Now, so meaning we in English put a word there. I did the action. So it's the person. Second person, you spoke. So I'm talking to you in the sentence, or you ran in this case. Third person, it's something that was spoken about. He stopped. I mean, I'm not talking to him. It's not me talking. It's just that guy over there. He stopped. Or that car behind me. He stopped. You know, ran into me before he ran into me. So we indicate with our verbs by adding another word, but still there's a form to the verb too. But we indicate person. Greek and Hebrew do it a little differently. Number, and we're going to deal with those things that you're most likely going to run into, but there's a lot more that we can't get into. Number, English said it with words and verb forms. A pleasant smell seems, singular. The smell is the subject. A is an article and a modifier. Pleasant is also a modifier. So the subject is the smell seems, wow, to raise people's productivity. Plural, pleasant smells. Again, an adjective modifying smells, plural. Different form. Notice the S's, and this is where we try to teach our kids, singular S, if it's plural, no S on the verb, but on the subject. Tense. Now we're trying to talk when the action was done. It's done in the present. It's happening now. Now, what I have going on here in this sentence, I am running, it's a participle. And so I have a helping verb with the participle. Oh, shoot, there's different things we do. It's a present progressive for anybody's got going on. I am running. I mean, I'm doing it now. You can see the action. Past, it happened sometime before my time of speaking. I ran home. Well, when did you do that? Oh, 3 days ago. Or no, just 10 minutes ago. So I don't know, but it happened before I'm talking here. I'm talking about an action that was done before the present. And the future, we know, I will run home. Well, when? I don't know, 3 days from now, in 2 minutes. We don't know. Verbs have tense, simple present. She writes every day. Present progressive. She is writing right now. Now, this isn't an English class, but I'm just showing the diversity of what we're talking about. I used an example earlier. Because you get into another language and they're going to try to tell you progressive action or punctiliar action. I mean, it's just seen. she's doing it now. Past action, she wrote, or past progressive, she was writing. That participle with the past tense. Oh, wow, she was in that process of writing. I'm not looking at just the event. I'm looking at her actually doing it over a period of time. That's what verbs do for us. The future, same thing. She will write tomorrow, or she will be writing. Oh, wow, I can see that. She's actually writing it, but it's in the future. So we have some ways of indicating action when we write. Mood, here's another thing that verbs have, and I'm still talking English. The indicative mood, I'm expressing a fact, an action, an assertion. I'm making an assertion or denial or a question. Little Rock is the capital of Arkansas. Yeah, there's no time involved. I'm just stating a fact. That's the indicative. Our thesis statement is an indicative. Jesus Christ is the only Savior. It's just a to be verb that I have there, but no, I'm not showing an action that he died on the cross or he's returning. I'm just stating the truth. Ostriches cannot fly. Have you finished your homework? Imperative mood, this expresses command, prohibition, don't do that. Entreaty or advice, don't smoke in the building, be careful. That's an implied subject. You be careful. Don't chew gum in school. Again, you imply the subject usually when we have a command going on. We could say people should not smoke. I know we could say that, but usually if we're speaking to someone, we don't actually address the subject. Subjunctive mood. Now we have it in English. It's the probability, it's the impossibility, doubt, but it could be probable. And this is interesting, Greek has this too. Something contrary to fact. So here's some examples. May you have many more birthdays. I don't know if you're going to, but may you have them. That's subjunctive. May you live long. Or if I were you, I wouldn't keep driving on those tires. If he were governor, we'd be in better shape fiscally. All right, that's, one final thing. Let me get rid of the thing here. Voice, active, passive. In an active, the subject is actually doing the action in the sentence. I walk the dog, they called the preacher to the church as the pastor. Passive, Fido is being walked. Well, who's walking him? Well, we usually imply that with a prepositional phrase beginning with by. I have rewritten the sentence, Tyler is walking the dog, to a passive. Fido is the dog is being walked by Tyler. They are being called by the preacher. Sometimes when I'm writing, I want to get the subject out of the way, and so I'll use a passive. But be careful with passive. The instruction for us in English in grade school is don't use passive because it's weaker sentences. You don't have someone doing the action. But here we're at a graduate level, so sometimes throw things around in a sentence. Use variety as you're writing. Now we're talking what we're going to talk about that final session of a composition, things you could do with sentences. Where do you put the subject that you're going to introduce? Well, you put it at the end of a sentence, and then you start the next sentence with that subject. All right, there's just cohesion as you're writing. All right, forget that. Verbals. Any questions, comments, anybody about English verbs? Because that's where we're all coming from, Chinese and Japanese. I don't know how you all think in your languages when it comes to those structures. So come back and review your thinking, because then you've got to factor it into learning Greek. Comment, anybody? A verbal. It's a verb in form. I shouldn't say that. It's a verb in some context, but either its form changes or we add another word to it and it changes it from a verb. We start with the infinitive. The infinitive is in verbal when you're learning English. To run, to walk, to live. And then we start building sentences. I run, I walk, you live. But we start with an infinitive. It's a verbal. All right, that's just what we do to learn English. But what is to run? I like to run. What's the action? Well, it's I like, I'm not actually doing it, but it's more a condition. I like the process of running is what I'm saying, but I said it in an infinitive form. So it's almost serving like a predicate nominative. This is what I like. I like that. It's like an entity. So verbals are a little different. They can serve as an adjective, an adverb, or a noun, and we're not going to do English on all those. Adjectives modify a noun. Adverbs modify verbs or other adjectives or adverbs, technically. Each of them can be used by itself or as part of a verbal phrase. There's where we put prepositions in front of them. Types. We have participles, gerunds, and infinitives in English and in Greek, not in Hebrew. Hebrew does some crazy things. So we're not going to introduce everything in Hebrew here. But participles. The ending in English is ing or ed. He is walking or he walked. That's a past tense. All right, I not waste time. Think of it, but they function as adjectives. A gerund is an ing, but it functions as a noun. Notice this sentence. From the cook stove came the soft singing of burning wood. She hung the painting. That's obviously a noun with that one. But it comes from a verb. She painted, or it was painted by someone. An infinitive, the basic form of a verb preceded by the word to, and functions as nouns, adjectives, adverbs. The big thing is to try to be in position. We can only learn to love by loving. Oh, wow. So we use them all over the place. Greek. Questions, anybody about English first? Person, number. I didn't underline inflected forms. Greek says this person, first person, second person, third person. I, you, he, and singular, plural. We say it with a verb form and sometimes words with it. But you can just read the verb form and imply the subject. So that first word, the person speaking, akuo, is literally the subject I hear. It's the verb to hear, but because of the ending, I know it's a first person singular. Second person, the person was spoken to, akue, excuse me. That ending tells me it's a second person, singular, plural, different ending. But I also could write in the first person pronoun, I hear, ego akuo. And when I do that in Greek, sometimes, depending on the author, is how they use it, but most often, if you see the actual noun written, they're trying to emphasize something instead of, yeah, I heard. It's I heard. I mean, it's almost like an emphasis. That's what you need to be thinking. You got to look around and analyze how the author uses it sometimes. Oh, third person, again, the ending, he, she, or it hears, because I don't know until I have another, such as a pronoun, showing the gender that would go on. Singular, plural. So when you're learning Greek, you're learning all these endings with the verbs. Inflected form, first person, second person, third, singular, plural, first person, singular, luolu. This is the very first word I learned. And so did you as well.
Same one, yeah.
It's an easy one. It's very predictable. It doesn't have any exceptions.
Yeah.
Luolu, luamen, lueta, luusin. And the I, depending, or the nu, depending on where it's used in the sentence. Tenses. They have tense in Greek. present, the action's happening now. Now, I don't have any accents or the breathing on the front of these. I just typed them in with my Times New Roman here. You can use the symbol font there. I love. Agapao. Past action. There's two different forms, primary forms for past action, the imperfect, and usually implies like a progressive, it happened, whereas the aorist, be careful, the aorist has been abused through the years. The aorist has said, aorist, it's done. Not always, but it is saying the action was done. But sometimes you read a commentary, the older commentaries, where they say, one and done. He's looking at punctiliar action. Not necessarily, it just means the action was done. So you gotta, again, look around, see how it's used. But there are different forms to past action. Usually it's a continuous of the imperfect, I was loving, or I loosed, or I released, elusa. Past, action happened in the past with present effect. Now here's an interesting verb form. When you find a perfect, it might really be significant. But there are some people that like to use the perfect a lot. John does, but then there are some places he uses the perfect in, like John 4:24. What was the verse? Now all of a sudden I can't remember off the top. He who hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life. It is not, and that has eternal life is a perfect tense. And we see what and here's the use of the perfect. It happened in the past, but its effects are still continuing in the present. It's perfect. Now, I don't know if you want to think of it that way, but that's what we get. So here's something that had been written. And we double there that beginning to indicate the perfect there on the beginning of the word. Grapho is the verb, but gegrapho, grapha. Future, actual is yet to happen. Valo, I will throw. Mood. We have an indicative mood, an imperative mood. It's indicated by the form of the verb. Subjunctive mood. There's an interesting one. Usually when you see a subjunctive, you got to look around and see, why is he using it? Optative, Ricky, have you studied that much? It's not used as much. You're going to run into it every once in a while. It seems to be close to a subjunctive. Again, look at how the people are describing it, those that are analyzing the verb, but you'll see a reference to the optative, expressing a wish. And I didn't give you an example.
That'd be like where Paul in Romans, like where he's talking about his fellow. I haven't looked at it, but I was thinking where he's expressing that he wishes his fellow countrymen would be saved and he would be accursed. I was thinking like that
could be an interesting passage.
That was
look at
one
it.
that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Expressing like he wishes that this would happen, but it's not really a thing. But,
My gut response is, mostly it's a subjunctive.
But
every once in a while I run into it. I go, so how significant is the optative? Now, see what happens, maybe is happening with the language. As the language has progressed from the classical now into the Koine, parts of it are still being picked up. You look at the context in which it was written, maybe Paul's wanting to use a little bit more highfalutin language as an audience. Now, it's my stupid wording there. So he's using something a little more classical as opposed to just writing with Koine. Active. Now, again, as soon as I say that, you're going to come back and say, but Dr. Dawes, that isn't really true. Okay, I'll work with that one. But we have active voice, the subject's doing the action. Passive. We have forms. Middle. When you're learning the language, Greek, and you're trying to parse it, you're going to talk about how do you list parsing? It's going to be an aorist, indicative, active, third person, singular. So there's a way that I learned to parse the verb. And you're going to see in your software, and I'm using parsing, meaning I'm breaking down, it's an aorist, in the indicative mood, active voice, third person, and number, singular. So all those different parts of a verb. You're going to see it in the translation, and you're going to hear it described. "Oh, this textual reading should have a first person. So what should it be?" And you're talking about textual evidence there. And we even have a middle. There's a deponent that you read in some of the older verb form, but most today now, I was corrected in one of these classes a long time ago because I learned the deponent. There are some verbs that only appear in a middle form. And so it was thought for a long time that had a reflexive form, the middle voice. I'm doing this action for myself. And now we're realizing, no, it's just a middle form. So you're going to read some comments there as you get down in the weeds and do some research. Verbals, here in Greek, it's the form of the verb used as an adjective, adverb, or noun, just like we do. We have participles in Greek, gerunds, and infinitives, but they got some slightly different usage. Participles modify the action of a verb. We call them verbal adjectives. Instead of modifying the noun, well, in English, we have participles that are in a verb. So it's really not totally true what we say in English even. Gerunds function as nouns. And we've already seen that in English too. Infinitives, rather infinitives, sometimes function like verbs, sometimes like nouns. And there's a long discussion that's in detail about the nuance of these verbals. What kind of, if the participle's modifying the main verb and the main verb is in an aorist, but the participle's in a present, then the action implied in the participle relative to an aorist, I can think of, and Greek was able to help me think of how that action is helping me. Here's an example just popped on my head. We talk, and there's a debate. Acts, or I don't know, it's Matthew 28, 19, and 20. 19. How's the verse read? Go, therefore, and make disciples. And then there's some participles here, baptizing and teaching. These are two participles. What is the main verb? This is the main verb. I forget what form it is. Do you remember, Ricky? Mm-hmm. And this participle is a different form than those two. Now I'm going to say, go and make disciples, this imperative mood, but are they present? And it's almost like this is a different form. So some people say, as you're going, make disciples by. So we get into the discussions about the verb forms and the nuanced significance depending on the form, the tense of the participle. Okay, this is all off your head. Going let me go to Blue Letter Bible. Open it up, see if we can get it in there. And
that's what I'm trying to do right now. King James Version.
Hebrews 5. This is all right for your assignment. This is what I want you to do. And I'll give you the assignment sheet here in a minute. Now, what is it? Is it?
Yes.
Logic Greek, I think.
Yeah.
And Hebrews 5.
Would you click on that again, sir?
MGNT.
Morphological Greek, MGNT. Now, if you're in Logos, go to Hebrews 5.
Yeah.
That'd be where to go, yeah.
Hebrews 5, or I thought it says Habakkuk 1:4.
Where? I'm just looking at my PowerPoint. Maybe you're looking at the other PowerPoint.
No, I'm looking at the assignment, sir. I thought it was.
Oh, that's Habakkuk. I'm just giving you some samples.
Okay.
So shoot.
Okay.
And that
This
would
is
be,
Greek.
That would be Hebrew.
Yeah. And that'd be Hebrew, and we're not there yet.
Right,
So,
right.
so we're looking at Greek. I'm looking at Blue Letter Bible again. Same thing. You change it to the kind of.
Okay, so
What am I trying to say? In this case, the Greek instead of New King James or translation. It's not the translation, it's the text type. And then the verse. And now I go to tools. Let's just start looking around. This is what I want you to do. Unless you have If you have experience with Greek, it's a different assignment. If you don't have any experience, do this. I'm asking you just to look at, we're just going to look around at a couple verses here. So let's look for the verbs. I got a conjunction. I got a article, nominative singular masculine, noun, nominative singular masculine. Okay, now we're hearing, ooh, those different forms. Verb, ooh, PPP, what's that show? I could click on this here, which is what I want to do for this assignment. And it opens up, it's a verb, it's present tense, it's passive, so that's the PPP. It's a participle, there's the other P. It's a nominative, notice the NSM at the end. Nominative, singular. What's a nominative? You remember from verbs, the nouns?
Subject.
Subject is, so I think a subject, but it's a participle. So what's going on? How do I do that one?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. It's related to the verb, but it has a subject type feel to it, is what you're thinking. And it's masculine, the NSM. So I got a preposition, a noun. Ooh, I got another one. A noun genitive, excuse me. That's not what we
So
want.
all the verbs, you want that all listed
Yep.
out for the each verb.
Just go through the verses that I ask and just identify the verses and parse them out. And that
Okay.
means just writing out what you see here. And try to think while you're doing it, just for exercising. What am I saying? It's a verb. It's present tense, so the action's happening now. It's passive. It's indicative, so it's a statement, but it wasn't done by the subject. It was done by something else in the sentence. Third person. And singular. And you could look back at the verse. We go down to, what is this? Is it article type thing?
For the
preposition.
For the
noun,
Hebrew, do
conjunction.
which the one you go to on the Blue Letter Bible for Hebrew?
This WLC, roll it over, Westminster,
WLC, we'll do that one.
Leningrad Codex, that's what I go to.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just don't use that one, so I just needed to know.
Yep.
Okay, I need to write that down then, because I did it totally wrong then, because I just think totally different then.
All right, so what I'm gonna ask you to do is just go identify all the verbs and their details. Parse the verb. You know, you're doing this for each one, just to get experience seeing it in the text, because they're gonna say, you know, this aorist participle used in this passage, let's see if we can find a participle. Oh, we had a participle, didn't we? That was this one. No, that's passive. Preposition, noun, verb. Active, subjunctive, we got going on here.
Yeah, you got
Active, subjunctive.
subjunctive,
Oh, wow.
subjunctive, what's your function?
Verb, we got the next verb.
Yeah.
Shaking myself now.
Let me see, I'm not up on there. That's a middle. Participle, okay.
Logos.
So now it's a verbal form. It modifies the main verb. And where's the main verb? Is that the main verb? Probably. Notice as I'm rolling over it, it even gives me the information without opening it up. Present active infinitive there, is that? All right. Questions about how to find the verb information? Let's do a, well, let's talk about Hebrew. Go back to that. Is that what I want? Nope. Hebrew. It's PowerPoint. So now let's go on to PowerPoint. Are we seeing this slide? Or do I need to back out, Sean?
No, you're fine, sir. I'm just trying to, yeah, you're good.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure they show them. You see it in Hebrew. Oh, wow. This is going to be a little bit more simple. I'm not going to say as much. The verb forms in Hebrew are very interesting. I'm saying it with a laugh because I go, oh, wow, I get so confused myself. The cal is the dominant verb form. But you can see there's 7 major stems, what we call them forms. Cal, nifal, pl, pual, hifil, hafel, hithpile. All right, there's a handout. I don't know if I have that in Canvas. I gotta look and see, but I've listed it here. Hebrew verb parsing. It would probably be in, if I didn't even connect it, it'd be in the files section. All right, let me go back. Just talk about it a little bit, real simplistic. What you're seeing here with the different forms, Cal tends to be an active. It can have a passive form though. He loved, it's active. He's doing the loving though. Nifel, passive. He was loved. So I've got a passive action going on. What you're going to see, you're going to see the verb. And then as it's described in a lexicon, it's going to have a bunch of different discussion points. I'll show you that in a minute here. Intensive. So now we have some verbs that show a slightly different force. It's giving force or emphasis, emphasizing very in the very same man is an intensive adverb. He loved indeed. He loved excessively. We could maybe say with a PL, the puel, passive. He was indeed loved. So these similar intensive forms reflexive the hith pael. He loved himself. Now, there are exceptions out there, though, with Hebrew. The causative, usually through the hifo, active, hafel, passive. And you can see where I got this information from. So they've got a good article there you could go to. But let's go to Blue Letter Bible. Bible Hub, another one. 1 Samuel 3 here. Back to Blue Letter Bible. In fact, I need to. Back out and start over again just to make sure. If I did that, that should be it. All right, come down this time and go to WLC Westminster Leningrad Codex here in Blue Letter Bible. That's the translation I'm using in 1 Samuel 3. That's what I said for my example. Shows the same way, except it's in Hebrew text. I click on a verse and tools, and I'm coming down the same parsing is what I'm looking for on the right side. HC, I got Hebrew going on. Where's a verb?
Which 1 Samuel, sir?
Ministered. Here's a Hebrew verb. Question, somebody?
Yeah, which Samuel?
1 Samuel 3. That's what I'm looking at. Verse 1. So I'm going to click on it. I hovered over it. It should bring it up anyway, but I'm going to open it up because this is the information you're going to find here. It's a root, Strong's number, English ministered. Okay, I'm wanting you to look at the parsing at the bottom. It's a verb in PL form, and it's indicated by the endings and some of the vowel pointing that goes with it. And some of the endings are the pronouns. So, as soon as I say this, there's some crazy things that go on in Hebrew that it's just way beyond our thinking. But this is what I want you to find because you're going to hear people talking about, oh, it's the PL form. Well, why is that significant? Go back to the basic forms. Oh, that's that kind. It's a participle active, masculine, singular, absolute. That's not an essential attribute that we need to know. But again, it's going to list it here. We go down and see some other Hebrew. Another verb. There's another verb. Notice what we have in the middle. Here's the form that was in the sentence. Here's the real form, the root form. Notice it's got a yehva. It's almost the derivative of Jehovah there. Ha-ya. And that's the pronunciation. So I come out to the side. And there's what the information I want to find. Now, what I'm saying with the verb, where is it? I'm going to go to this here. If I click on the lexicon and notice, here's a great one, Theological Word Book, the Old Testament for doing word studies. I mentioned that before. Primitive root, they're almost all primitive roots, Strong's here. Now I look at, notice how the verb, it's used in the cal, seems to be primarily, but I don't know how many are distributed. How many usage of, but it's also using the hifel too. Now I go down and I can look in Strong's, or sometimes you're going to have, and I don't know which, Gesenius, there's another lexicon, and you could start looking for verses. You know, you should have highlight if you want to see some other places that, but this is way beyond what we're doing for here. Yes, as Sean's going, what do I do?
Ignore me, Steve.
Another, there's Gesenius there, Strong's. And at the bottom, no, it doesn't do it here. And what I have in mind, it'll show you what I'm looking for. How many times this word's used is what I want to look for. 75 times in this translation. So it's a somewhat common verb. All right, did you look back? Questions, comments, anybody? Let me give you the assignment here. Everybody take one and pass it around. So Lee Shuang, open up the assignment here for number 4. Oh, wow, I don't have a copy of it. I do, it's right here. Is there an extra one that I just handed? There is an extra one. I thought I had printed one off. Thank you, Versace. All right, so you forget that number 1. You're going to look at number 2. If you've Greek, those with only Greek experience do both 1 and 2 for the Greek. Both 1 and 2 below.
Yeah.
I've asked you to do that, haven't I? It should be just 1.
Yeah. No, yeah, because the Greek and then the Hebrew.
And the Hebrew, you give us a Greek and Hebrew to do.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, just as long as you understand, I'm wondering how I've written these. So you're going to look at a Greek passage there, and using your language software and selective research, and as I looked at this, I go, I'm not as clear with that number 2, is what I want you to do. But you saw it in the example that I was just reading through the Bible. Using your language software or selective research books that you have, identify all the verbs and verbals in the passage. So there's 3 verses there, Galatians 3, if you've got Greek experience. You flip to the first part of the Hebrew. There's 2 verses in Isaiah that I want you to do the same thing that we just did. Identify the verbs, their forms, number. And I'm asking you to think of a little bit further. Ricky, you've got some Greek experience. And how do they relate? You know, come back to that. Think if you've had some Greek, you know, but if you've just got.
That's if you're only.
Yeah.
So for the rest of us non-speaking Greek.
Yep.
We're doing Habakkuk.
1 verse 4.
And then then 1 Corinthians 15.
15 verses 1 and 2, and just looking for the verbs and verbals.
Verbal.
Participles, infinitives, and gerunds.
When you're looking at the tools.
Yeah, just look at the tools.
Like right now, I'm in this.
It'll say verb, and you just start with that and just list all their
So I
listing as the
got
verbs.
verb, present, active, in the inductive, first person singular.
Yep.
So you want that all written out.
Yeah, just give me the English word, and so I know which one you're talking about in the sentence.
Because like for what I did for prime example is I copied down the text. And
Well,
I found the nouns.
Mhm.
I put and on the other side of it, I put noun. Now I didn't put anything else in it because I didn't realize we were supposed to do more. I found because
now for the last assignment, it was just nouns, and
Yeah.
that was that one. But this time, you don't have to worry about the nouns and pronouns.
But maybe so that's why I'm really waiting to see how I grade on that one because this. So now you want the whole thing like I make known, boom. I make noun.
I just want you to look at the verbs.
Just the verb.
You don't have to
you
do
don't
the
have to know
nouns.
the nouns or anything.
Just tell me the verbs
I
and
make-
verbals
Yeah.
Okay, so
and
I
what
is a
forms
verb.
they are. Pardon?
I
It
is a
tells you
verb.
right there which one the verbs are.
I know.
Yeah, that's okay.
I make known. That is one.
Oh, yeah, it could be one word in Greek.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yep. But just parse the verb.
Right. And then if I go into my morph, it says verb, present, active, inactive, indicative. Sorry. Yes.
Mhm.
My English is not that great.
Yeah, okay.
First person singular. First one. I'm like really. And that's what you want written down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Here's an interesting, let me show you just why we run into this every once in a while.
So now what about evangelism verbs?
Evangelism verb. What are you talking about?
Evangelism verb is what this is called.
No, that's transliterating it. Yeah,
Well, no, it's saying it's an, it's a verb.
Oh, that's,
yeah. It transliterated it next to, yeah, that's confusing. Yeah.
So basically, I'm sold on this. Aristotle, inductive. Come on, there it
Do you
is.
have exegetical guide on these?
What's your plans for the Thanksgiving?
That's what I do.
going to Wisconsin.
Exegetical guide.
Where in
Yeah.
So you're in blue.
Cedar
like
Grove,
blue.
which is
I can't stand.
south of Sheboygan,
So
north
if
of
you go to
Milwaukee.
exegetical
Oh, okay.
guide,
North of
guide,
Washington.
Whose side?
My,
Your side?
it's our daughter
Guide.
and her husband there. Go visit and take grandma with us.
Yeah, we did,
Type in the verse.
Wisconsin 2 years ago. We came back, over the UP after going through Michigan
Uh,
and then came back that way. It was actually really pretty.
It is. It was interesting when I flew to Uganda,
Yeah, get right to. There you go.
because the weather, they took us further north and I couldn't see.
Well,
them. We
ice
probably went
cream.
over Iceland and Greenland.
Right?
And we come straight down, flew right over them, and the clouds just happened to part. And I go, there's where my daughter lives, right over Cedar Grove. So I texted my grandson there, he's 18. I said, I just flew right over you. Oh, you should have told us. You never would have seen it.
That way then.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I was surprised. I
That's
would
an
have thought
easier
we
way
would
to
have
do
come
it.
in east.
Yeah, it's funny how far north when you do
This
that
one
arch,
says
but it's a
verb,
straight line,
and
you
it
know.
gives
And
a type of
I show people that on how to
Okay.
build the globe and the map.
Yeah. it
They
gives you
still
the
don't
input
understand
and
it,
the
you know,
task.
and us in the Air Force,
So
you
he
fly
basically
around.
wants us to take.
But you
This
try
is the
to
verb,
this
and I
is
just
the
take and copy.
Yeah, you're leaving
Right,
from
yeah.
Kansas City, you're gonna fly over just north of Anchorage, Alaska, when you're going to Japan, you know.
Oh,
And I'm not,
yeah.
I'm thinking about this.
The
because I
circle
have- I
route,
can
That's
take
a
you
straight
to,
line, that's a straight
So
line.
how'd you-
Put it back
So
in,
what I'm
it's a
really
straight line.
confused about is,
I can't think
you
of
wrote
it.
out the word,
Believe it or not, you go
did
to
you take this passage and just go through
get
it
to
like that
Anchorage,
way, or
and,
did you just go
all
through
the
this? and do
747s are parked there all
How
night
do you-
long.
Can I see what you? what-
Oh, yeah, well, you've done a
what
lot of
it
flying,
looks
what do I say? You've been there, done that a few times. Shoot, wait, this volcano
Yeah,
is it Iceland?
Iceland, that's gonna cause a lot of problems if it ends
One of
up
the times I
with
went to Uganda, we got close enough where and it was clear and you could definitely see it was just
that.
volcanoes all over the place. All right, what I was going to show in John 4, Jesus goes to his hometown and they say they received him. That's an interesting term. It wasn't lamano that John uses, it's a different term.
Okay.
I mean, they just sort of welcome to town. Hi, miracle worker. They really weren't receiving him. Those who receive him became children of God. No, that's not the same Greek term. It's a different one. But in that passage, he goes on and there's a man, a royal official that had a sick son. And he comes to Jesus and he says, would you heal him? And how does Jesus respond? He says, you people are always, I said it wrong. In the text, English, there's a couple translations that read, you're always looking for signs. And you get the impression, what is he dissing this guy who has no, it's a plural you know, and a plural verb.
Yeah.
You know, oh, wow. So there's where you get into the details. And, oh, wow, he's talking to the crowd while he's helping this dad who's got a lot of problems.
Oh, the plural of that was y'all.
Yeah.
It goes back to
That's
you,
the
it's
southern
y'all,
dialect
you know?
here.
Yeah, that was
All right, anybody, any further questions? Anyone?
Alabama Greek.
Li Shuang, any questions? I want you to find in that verse in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, just parse the verbs in those sentences using your software and tools. Have a good one, everybody. The Lord bless you. Have a good weekend. Good Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Where are you going for Thanksgiving?
We're gonna be,
Yeah, so I
heading on up to Iowa and then down to Prose.
Yeah.
And then I just.
Oh, you
copied
mentioned
the
Iowa.
words here.
There you go.
See, here's where-
Cool. Have a good one.
Noun, subject, noun.
I was just thinking today, we're going to Wisconsin. Look at the weather.
This is how.
It's gonna be 30 at the highest, down in the 20s. I'll take my running clothes. No, probably won't. I'll freeze. I mean, I don't mind running outside when it's
See,
cold.
this is exactly how I did it.
So maybe my wife will urge me to do that.
Is it gonna be snowing?
No, they didn't have any snow.
Preposition.
We called them just last week and it had 4 inches of snow.
No, they
That,
haven't.
that when you
But
went
yeah,
to
it's all
each
gone
other,
now.
all the other
Like I said, Anchorage, Alaska is having record.
It was
sales
just,
right
it
now.
was
Yeah.
just like,
They went over it,
down,
so they said
preposition
Right.
down,
November.
that's all I did
To
too.
see
Okay,
over
yeah,
2 feet
yeah,
of snow
same
in
thing.
November. It's gonna be cold.
Condition
was
Oh,
good,
wow.
too.
Agree.
That's good. One.
Yeah.
I did.
Be strong. Have a
So
good
this week it will be.
Thanksgiving is what we celebrate here, but have a good week
So like
off.
Hebrews, every is an adjective.
Let me turn this
High is
off
a noun.
here. All right,
Yeah,
so you have a
yeah, I don't think
question.
that's wrong. Yeah.
Sounds like
Now we just
Yes,
have
I
to
do.
do, you're gonna have to do